Shaq's a classic playing dream with a power crash hoop. Don't turn your back, cause it might be the Shaq attack.
This is NBA Showtime. Here's your host, Bob Costas.
Along with Grandmaster Doc and MC Vesey, and this is the Miami Arena. The site has the Heat barely alive for a playoff berth, host the team with the best record in the East, the Orlando Magic. This has not been a good stretch for the Magic, though. Losers of 3 of their last 4 and struggling of late on the road. Happy Easter, happy Passover, everyone. Bob Costas along with Julius Erving and Peter Vesey, as we said, the start of a good weekend of NBA action here on NBC. A doubleheader tomorrow, including the Knicks and the Bulls. More on that later. But let's start with Orlando at Miami and some concerns about the Magic, particularly in this situation on the road against one of the league's weaker teams. Marv Albert and Matt Gukas have more from Miami. Marvelous.
All right, Bob, and yes, these have been difficult times for the Orlando Magic, who at one point were rolling right along. But check this out. Orlando over the first 43 games of the season with a sparkling record of 35-8. But since then, and certainly injuries have contributed, the Magic only 20 up, 14 down. Of most concern to Coach Brian Hill, they have had big problems on the road. 4 straight losses, 13 of the last 17. They have dropped to 18-20 away from home. It's been a 2-month-long slide on the road. We talked about this with Shaquille O'Neal and Horace Grant.
It's just a little lack of concentration. I think if the playoffs were right here, right now, that we'd be more focused on that instead of just having 4 or 5 more games in the regular season. I think every team have a tendency to look ahead to the playoffs.
NBA life is nothing but peaks and valleys, and right now we're going through a valley. You know, once we get a win, we'll be okay.
Matt, is there reason for alarm?
Well, Brian Hill told me he is concerned, but certainly not about to panic. Let's face it, the history of the NBA is full of champions who've dominated at home, but flirted with a 500 record on the road.
And some good news today for the Orlando Magic. In a surprise, late last night, Nick Anderson arrived here in Miami, and he will return to action today. In fact, he'll be in the starting lineup after missing 4 games because of a concussion. And after Orlando went 1-3 without him, from the Magic point of view, you might say that he is back in the nick of time. Then again, you might not. Bob?
Certainly, Marv. I, for one, would not. Now, Doc, I know for a fact the Magic stays in the finest hotels, 24-hour room service, heated towel racks, SpectraVision, and yet they do not like the road.
No, they don't particularly care for the road. It's a big game, though, when the Magic come to town. Teams focus, and they just play better against a team that is perceived to be the team to beat in the NBA. But case in point, when the Magic went into Utah, when they went into Chicago on the road, they won those big games. I think they were just a little disinterested in some of the lesser teams and had close games that resulted in defeat.
What do you say, Pete?
I think it's very deceiving. Like Doc says, they won those big games. They were very pumped up to win on the road, and then Penny Hardaway got sick and Nick Anderson had the concussion. I think there's plenty of time for those guys to readjust, get into the lineup. Is there enough time for Shaquille O'Neal to work on that free throw shooting? That's the question.
Well, we'll have more on Shaq and the Magic later, but on to some additional NBA news. Citing irreconcilable differences, Charles Grantham, the executive director of the NBA Players Association, abruptly resigned yesterday. The owners and players are currently operating without a collective bargaining agreement, and Grantham was the man representing the players in negotiations with the owners. At this point, the exact reason or reasons for his departure remain unclear. He's replaced by the union's general counsel, Simon Gordine. On the court, the Seattle Sonics tip off against Golden State about 25 minutes from now. Seattle's all-star point guard Gary Payton has a broken ring finger on his left hand, but word is he will start today. Now, there were 6 games on the NBA schedule last night, and we start with a terrific game at Market Square Arena, a possible second-round playoff preview between the Knicks and Pacers. The Knicks came back from a 9-point second-half deficit. Patrick Ewing from the baseline. This is what is referred to as a friendly series of bouncers. Ewing with a game-high 30 carried the Knicks on his back. Tied at 84 here. Game clock and shot clock ticking down. Derek Harper will hit the 3 from the corner. The game winner giving the Knicks a 3.5-game lead over Indiana in the battle for the second-best record in the Eastern Conference.
I kind of took this game as, came in with a kind of playoff frame of mind. It was a big game, and I definitely wanted to get the win, and I'm glad we were able to get it.
It was very disheartening, especially to lose to the Knicks.
The Hornets are now just a half game behind the Pacers. Look at 41-year-old Robert Parrish. Off the steal, he takes it all away. Alonzo Mourning led Charlotte with 23. In case you've been wondering, this officially eliminates the Pistons from the playoffs. And this just in, the Syracuse Gnats are also out. The Hawks and Cavs battling for the 6th playoff seed in the East. Tyrone Hill led Cleveland with 16 points and 18 rebounds. The Cavaliers are now 2 up on the Hawks with only 4 left to play. Elsewhere, the Spurs were hosting Sacramento. Second quarter, Dennis Rodman comes off the bench, enters the game. Welcome back after missing the last 14 games with a separated shoulder, but he gave the Spurs a scare, going down in a heap just before halftime. Muscle spasms in the still painful shoulder. After some physical therapy, Rodman came back in the second half, sparking the Spurs with 6 points and 15 rebounds in just 22 minutes. Rodman on the move here whips one to David Robinson, 2 of his game-high 32. The Spurs snap a short 2-game losing streak.
I love pain. This drives me. It drives me. So basically, this is nothing to me. If I injure again, I'm gonna keep on playing because I just do or die now. Do or die.
A slice of the Rodman philosophy. Denver on the playoff bubble hosting Phoenix. Third quarter, Charles Barkley charged with a flagrant foul here. Over the season, he's been accumulating detention points, and so he's been suspended for tonight's game against the Lakers. Here's Bryant Stitt, a season-high 27, helping Denver overtake Sacramento and claim sole possession of the 8th and final playoff spot in the West. Milwaukee's slim playoff hopes damaged in overtime by Minnesota. Isaiah Ryder hits the tough corner tray with 1:38 left in OT, giving the T-Wolves the lead for good, and they snap a 4-game losing streak. Well, let's go back to the Charles Barkley situation. Big game tonight, Suns and Lakers, and no Barkley.
I think it could be a blessing in disguise of a dislocated right pinky, which Barkley hurt in Tacoma the other night. Then he went 9 for 14 against the Spurs and 4 for 14 in the next game. I think this will help him taking a few games off.
Doc.
Well, Charles has to move his feet on defense instead of just moving his shoulder. But it's an unfortunate and it's an ill-timed suspension. And the most important thing with the Suns, since they're not going to have the best record in the league, is that psychologically and physically they're ready during the playoffs. This is a team that can make a good run because with veterans like Barkley and Kevin Johnson, they can beat anybody.
You know, he wasn't suspended just for what happened there. There's a point system. He had accumulated them over time by being naughty. He exceeded the limit, and tonight he sits out. Up next, highlights of the week, including the amazing Houston-Dallas thriller, and Ahmad Rashad with Penny Hardaway. As we head to a break, a look at the conference standings. Orlando appears headed for a first-round matchup with the Celtics. Boston 2 games ahead of Milwaukee. Indiana and Charlotte are separated now by just half a game in the Central, tied in the loss column. And Cleveland's win last night gives them a cushion over Atlanta. In the West, the fight is for the 2, 3, and 4 spots between Seattle, Utah, and Phoenix. The Sonics and Suns finish. Back we come with the best games and highlights from an exciting week in the NBA, starting with the Rockets and Nuggets. Closing seconds here. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf with the pull-up jumper to tie, and he hits. Ernie's bunch was loving it and looking at overtime until Clyde Drexler's prayers were answered.
Drexler's going to get one off for the game. It's good. He kissed it. Count the basket. Houston wins 123-120.
Next up, the game of the week, possibly the game of the year, which saw Drexler picking up right where he left off. The Rockets led by 12 going into the 4th, but the Mavericks rallied behind a trio of 3-pointers by Jason Kidd to grab the lead late in the quarter. Hakeem could only sit back and watch, but at least he had a good seat for all this.
Sam Cassell for a 3.
And so we move on to overtime. Houston up 3. Time running out on the Mavs.
He goes!
Kidd's 8th 3-pointer of the game sent it into double overtime. Here the Mavericks able to run off the game's final 10 points behind Jamal Mashburn, who netted 42. And who else? Jason Kidd, who notched his 3rd triple-double in a week. 38 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. Can you say Rookie of the Year? Well, they were saying it in Milwaukee that same night as Grant Hill and Glen Robinson battled it out straight on into overtime. The battle was won by the big dog, 30 points to 25 for Hill, and he also won the war. The Bucks edged out a 5-point victory over the Pistons, continuing to keep their flickering playoff hopes alive in the East. On to Tacoma, where the top two teams in the Pacific met. Sean Kemp, 27 points, 15 rebounds. The baseball pass to Gary Payton, the hoop and the harm as they went blow for blow into the fourth. That's when Dan Marley caught fire with 3 3-pointers as the Suns took command. Charles Barkley added 17 points and 14 rebounds, but don't celebrate too much, Charles. You've got the Spurs tomorrow.
No, they have us tomorrow night. They come to our house. We'll be ready.
Okay, it's tomorrow. Spurs and Suns. Barkley to beat the halftime buzzer. Yes, as Marv would say, and he certainly looks ready to us. San Antonio kept pace into the fourth behind the Admirals' 25 points, but another late Phoenix run would have Charles, who fouled out, going nuts on the sideline. A Wayman Tisdale putback with 24 seconds remaining clinched an impressive 2-game sweep of the Suns' Great Western Showdown. And finally, some familiar faces in old places. Hakeem returned to the Rockets lineup, while Otis Thorpe returned to the Summit to a standing ovation. A little in-your-face for the former mates as Clyde Drexler skies for the Jam, and there was plenty of Hakeem with 35 points on 14 of 19 shooting as the Rockets go on to the win. Okay, Olajuwon was the MVP in the league last year, of course. As always, you have a vote. Who's going to get it from you this year?
Well, I'm going to give it to Patrick Ewing, and I know he's got no chance to win it. Probably David Robinson or Shaquille O'Neal are going to get it. But with all due respect to those guys, plus Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, and Gary Payton, I think Ewing deserves it because he's really had no help. You look at that, Charles Oakley's been out for 30-something games this year, and his best player on the team next to him is the erratic John Starks, who's shooting 39.9%. All those other guys have very, very big contributors around them. You might look at Barkley and say, well, he doesn't really have anybody, but he had Danny Manning for 46 games, and they were 36 and 10. And if I were giving out an award for the most overlooked player in the league this year, it would be Rick Smits. I know it's hard to be 7'4" and be overlooked, but this guy is overlooked by the media, not by the people he plays against. He's averaging 18 points, almost 8 rebounds, but the thing about him is he requires a double team. The only team that hasn't double teamed him this year is the Spurs because David Robinson said he can handle them all by himself, and Rick got 35 off him. And while Smits is not receiving the credit he does deserve, Paul Westphal is getting criticism he does not deserve. The Suns coach is getting a lot of heat out in Phoenix. They don't like his laid-back attitude. They don't like the way the team is playing defense. But let's face it, if Kevin Johnson hadn't missed 35 games, Barkley hadn't missed 12, and Tisdale hadn't missed 17, we might be talking about this guy as Coach of the Year. Let's face it, they've won 55 games without those guys.
All right. Doc, do you agree with Pete's assessment?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think Paul Westphal could be the Coach of the Year, despite the fact that the Suns are not going to end up with the best record. You know, this is a team that made a commitment to playing better defense in the second half of the season, something that in the first half of the season, I think they were second from the bottom, only to Golden State. And they've won big games against Seattle, against San Antonio, with the defensive effort. And the Suns haven't been known to be a great defensive team. They can score points against anybody, but the second half, the playoffs will be about defense, defense, defense for them.
That's right. I mean, they picked it in the last couple games. That's where it started. Against the Bullets the other day, they had something like 77 points they gave up in the first half. In the last 10 quarters, they've really kicked it off going into the Denver game. But I think the key is that Dan Marley said about Kevin Johnson, he's got to learn that he doesn't have to dominate the ball. He doesn't have to dominate the action. He doesn't have to carry us. He just has to get in and play defense and fit in with the rest of us.
All right, so much for the Suns for now. Let's get back to the game in Miami between the Heat and the Magic, and Ahmad Rashad joins us courtside. Ahmad, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Bob. How are you?
Good.
Good. You know, I got a chance to catch up with Penny Hardaway before the game, and as you know, he hasn't been 100% as of late. And we talked about a lot of things, among them his health, and also the pressures facing the Orlando Magic as they enter the playoffs, and also their inability to win on the road.
We've been inconsistent all year on the road. But, you know, we know what we have to do. You know, when the playoffs come up, we're going to have to sneak wins on the road and beat people on the road. So we definitely have to go at it a different way than we have all year long and just try to get some wins on the road.
Getting ready for the playoffs, one of the most important things is to be healthy. Your health has been in question. How is it?
Well, it's back to normal now. You know, a month ago I was feeling kind of bad because I had esophagitis, which is like an inflamed esophagus, and you know, I've never had it before. So, you know, and then Nick went down with a concussion, and we lost like four out of our last 6, and you know, and then we lost again the other day, and we're just trying to get it all together, get everybody back healthy, and we feel when we're healthy we play a lot better.
Let's talk about the importance of this game. These are the kind of games that you guys have been having trouble with, losing to teams on the road like Miami. How important is this one?
It's very important, and you're right. Usually we would get up for the teams like New York, Phoenix, San Antonio, and those teams, and then we wouldn't get up for Miami, Detroit, and all those games. The teams under 500, and we usually lose those games. And today is one of those days where we have to go out and win because we can't put ourselves in this situation anymore.
Do you feel the pressure changing as the season goes along?
Definitely. We knew that the Knicks and the Pacers were going to be there at the end of the season and be waiting on us, and it's getting closer and closer. You know, with big wins that they're winning every game, it's putting a lot of pressure on us to go ahead and win.
All right, Bob, Hardaway told me that while he was sick, he had lost 12 pounds, but he feels like he's gained most of that back, and he feels ready to enter the playoffs. Bob?
All right, Ahmad, thanks. But with the inflamed esophagus, he is vowing to steer clear of the Diablo sauce. Coming up, we'll take a closer look at what's been ailing the Orlando Magic. Ready or not, the playoffs start in just 12 days, and we're back with that in a minute.
The Bulls win! They win it! Warning, the shot! Game over! This place is going crazy! Oh, a spectacular move! Welcome to the playoffs!
More NBA in a moment, but first, for those of you who watched our coverage of the PGA Seniors Championship earlier, you know we had to leave our coverage with play still on the 18th hole, so let's get a quick update from Dick Enberg.
All right, Bob, on the finishing hole, the par 5 18th, Jim Colbert, the overnight leader, his third shot trailing Raymond Floyd by a stroke.
119 yards into the wind, probably a big pitching wedge. Going right at it, just drifting a little left. Shot there.
Oh, my, 10-footer left for birdie for Jim Colbert. Now Floyd's approach.
115 yards, pitching wedge. Comes across it just a little, but not bad. Just a little left of the pin.
Safely home is Raymond Floyd, the leader going into the 4th round a year ago. Seemed to have the championship, but folded late. Now for birdie.
In all the way.
He follows it home. Raymond Floyd, the round of the day, a 67. Can Colbert match him for birdie? Just to the right, someone had sneezed in the gallery just as he struck the ball, and glower and stare into that gallery. So Raymond Floyd goes to bed tonight with a 2-shot lead, and what a final group tomorrow. Floyd, Colbert, and Nicklaus. Bob?
Dick, thanks a lot. And a reminder, we will have 3 hours of final round coverage tomorrow beginning at noon Eastern time. The Orlando Magic, as we switch back to the NBA, they've been the dominant team in the Eastern Conference the entire year, but especially lately, they've given skeptics plenty of reason to doubt them. The best young team around knows that respect in this league is earned in the playoffs.
And the Pacers have stolen Game 1!
It was a real bitter situation.
The Indiana Pacers take a 2-0 lead.
Last year we didn't think we could be beaten at home, and we got beat, you know, took the first 2 games there.
Savor of the moment, the 3-game sweep.
It was a learning experience for us, and I don't think it will happen this year.
The Magic own the best record in the East, having only lost 2 games at home and feature 2 of the NBA's brightest young stars. They've also added playoff experience in Horace Grant and Brian Shaw, but questions remain.
As everyone has reminded us all year long, we haven't won a playoff game yet.
When I was with the Bulls, we had a lot of veterans there to withstand the little slumping period, you know. But here, you know, we're still a young basketball team, and we're still learning.
I still think we have to really just earn respect, and because a lot of teams still don't respect us.
But do the Magic deserve the favorites role heading into the playoffs? This team has lost 13 of its last 17 games on the road, dropping games to lowly teams such as the Timberwolves, Nets, Pistons, and Sixers, failing to find a way to win close away games. The last team to win the NBA title with a losing road record was the 77-78 Elvin Hayes-led Washington Bullets.
We lost a lot of close games, and we lost some big leads here on the road. And we lost to some teams that, after the game's over, we step back and look at ourselves and say, we know we shouldn't have lost this game.
Certainly I've been concerned with some of our performances of late, especially on the road, and you can trace them to some specific things. The fact that we've had crucial turnovers in the fourth quarters of games, and we have not shot free throws very well.
Shaq might be the best inside player in the NBA, but his free throw shooting could be one of the Magic's fatal flaws late in the game. Teams know who to foul. Shaq is only 54% from the line.
You just have to concentrate and just go through the same method. And I hit him in practice, and we'll start hitting him in the game.
The only thing we can do is continue to work on it as hard as we possibly can, and keep our fingers crossed, really, that when the playoffs come around and the game is on the line, that we'll have a better ability to make free throws in clutch situations than we've had down the stretch here the regular season.
We know we have to make them in the playoffs, and if teams foul us and we go to the line and miss them, then it's only going to be our own fault.
As teams build momentum for the playoffs, injuries to Penny Hardaway and Nick Anderson had the Magic limping into April, losers of their last 4 of 6. But they're getting healthy and are well aware that there is no place like home.
It's not going to be easy as it could have been last year. We're more aware of what can happen in those situations, and then we've beaten every Eastern Conference team in the arena this year.
Once we get into the playoffs, we just have to stay focused, win all our games at home, try to steal some on the road.
We only have lost 2 games at home so far. If we have home court, then we win all our home games. That gives us a ring, right?
Well, they might not have home court advantage in the finals, but all the way through the Eastern Conference. Do you see them making it to the finals?
Well, they're the team to beat in the East, no question about it. They have to live with the reality of being a poor free throw shooting team, and I think Penny Hardaway is going to spend considerable time at forward when Brian Shaw's on the court.
I think until they win a playoff game, they can't be considered the top team in the East, despite what they did during the regular season. But I think the front court, coming off the bench, is really going to be pivotal. Jeff Turner and Anthony Avan and Tree Rollins really have to step it up in the playoffs. Otherwise, this team isn't going anywhere. And I think Shaquille has to stop listening to all those people who are telling him about how to shoot a free throw and just clear his head and, shoot the same way every game.
Well, symptomatic of their recent problems, a close loss earlier this week at Boston Garden. The Celtics, a team they figured to play in the first round of the playoffs, and Shaq shoots 2 of 11 from the line. Time for the Magic and the Heat from Miami. We'll see if Orlando can get back on track. Marv Albert and Matt Gukas will have the call at halftime. A look at the San Antonio Spurs. The NBA on NBC continues after these messages from your local station.
It's a memory that haunts the Orlando Magic. Last season's first-round playoff elimination by the Pacers.
Indiana Pacers have defeated the Orlando Magic.
For nearly a year, the Magic have tried to forget that debacle, but at the same time drawing motivation from it. Shaquille O'Neal was reminded that even dominant players are often judged by their playoff success. Anthony Hardaway's brilliant rookie year was overshadowed by its sudden conclusion. And Horace Grant now finds himself in Orlando, hoping to change their postseason misfortunes. Now, with the playoffs barely a week away, the Magic are seeking the momentum that is so crucial for the task ahead, erasing the nightmare of a year ago.
Is the NBA on NBC. Today, it's the Orlando Magic versus the Miami Heat.
A capacity crowd, better than 15,000 turning out at the Miami Arena for the Magic and the Heat. Orlando are now 3 games in front of the Knicks, who have been coming on, while Orlando has lost 3 of its last 4 games. In the race for the 8th and final playoff spot in the East, Miami is still alive, but barely breathing. They trail Boston by 3 games, and they are 1 behind Milwaukee. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert along with Matt Dukas, and as we discussed earlier on Showtime, Orlando struggling as of late, having their problems, particularly on the road. They've had some injury difficulties, but they are delighted that their all-star point guard Anthony Hardaway is back in the lineup after missing 4 games with an inflammation of the esophagus, and he comes off a career-high performance with 19 assists.
And he's almost back to full strength, and he makes a gigantic difference. Penny Hardaway is having an all-pro season. That's 6 more points a game, better than 50% from the field, a significant improvement over last year. And Marv, whatever has been ailing the Magic of late, the presence of a healthy Penny Hardaway will fix it.
And for Miami, it's been a very disappointing season. A revamped lineup, a new coach. They've been hearing all kinds of bad reaction, boos from the home crowd. But despite all this, Glen Rice having his finest season in the NBA, and he is clearly the major concern of the Orlando Magic.
And to show you how disappointing, one of the few highlights for the Heat was Glen Rice winning the 3-point contest at All-Star Weekend. But Glen Rice is putting up outstanding numbers, and he is starting to augment his game by driving more and posting up. But if the Heat are to have any chance at all today of knocking off an angry Orlando Magic team, Glen Rice will have to have a huge game.
And both the Magic and the Heat affected by a series of injuries. For more on that, let's go to the Dean of Sideline Reporting. Here's Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. For the Miami Heat, Bimbo Coles is still on injury reserve with that strained hamstring, and Harold Miner will not play today because of a strained wrist. Now, the big surprise comes for the Orlando Magic when they found out just today that Nick Anderson had been cleared by his doctors yesterday. He arrived this morning, and he will start. There is one other fellow on the Orlando Magic that's under the heat and under the weather, and that is Brian Hill, who has been suffering with the flu, and hopefully that will not affect his decision-making. Marv?
All right, Ahmad, and when we come back, it'll be the start of our NBA Marathon Weekend here on NBC. It gets underway with Orlando and Miami.
Is brought to you by cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. By ITT, for 75 years, the one to follow. And by Fisher Nuts. It's Fisher flavor, or it's just plain nuts.
Well, it is a beautiful 86-degree day in the Miami area. 4th and final regular season game coming up between Miami and Orlando. Orlando has won the previous 3. A look at the Magic starting lineup in the backcourt. Anthony Hardaway, Nick Anderson, who, as we mentioned, is returning following the concussion injury suffered last week in the game against Detroit. Missed 4 games. Shaquille O'Neal, Donald Royal, and Horace Grant on the front line, and the Orlando Magic coached by the flu-ridden Brian Hill in his 2nd year as head man of the Magic. A look at the Miami Heat, who over the last 14 games have split at 7 up and 7 down. The rookie out of Arizona, Khalid Reeves, in the backcourt with Billy Owens, 6'9", big guard position being played by Owens. John Sally up front with Kevin Willis and Glen Rice. And the Miami Heat now being coached by 39-year-old Alvin Gentry, who took over from Kevin Loggery back in mid-February. Loggery now Miami's director of player personnel. Alvin Gentry had never been a head coach on the high school or college level. He's been an assistant at Miami the past 4 years and was an assistant at San Antonio under Larry Brown, and with the Los Angeles Clippers under Mike Schuler. And since Gentry has taken over, this game number 32 for Gentry at the helm, Miami has gone 13-18.
Alvin was telling me yesterday how important he feels for his team to control the tempo, not let the Orlando Magic get out and run, which they have done in the 3 previous easy wins against the Miami Heat. The problem with controlling the tempo is the Heat play their best when they get out and run, so they still have to look for fast break opportunities, but then when they don't have it, slow down in the half court and get a good shot, and that's something they've been very poor at all all season long with their half-court execution.
The officials, Jack Neese, Bernie Fryer, Ted Bernhardt. And it will be Ted Bernhardt throwing it up between Kevin Willis and Shaquille O'Neal. Thursday night here in Miami, the Heat beat the Cavaliers 85-84 after trailing by 15 points at the start of the fourth quarter. The Heat did it with their bench. Alvin Gentry dissatisfied with the play of 3 of his starters and made changes. And the Miami Heat hearing the boos throughout that contest, although they came from behind to win. The steal by Owens, finding Rice.
Well, that's what I'm talking about for the Miami Heat when they get that opportunity off a steal like that. Nice defensive play by Billy Owens, and not a real good pass, but Glen Rice did an outstanding job of catching that ball and finishing.
Shaquille O'Neal on the follow, not able to stop. Here's Horace Grant, and he has tied the game at 2. Orlando coming off a loss to the Boston Celtics in Boston on Thursday night, although the Magic shot 61% from the field. That's an illegal defense called for the first time.
Well, Billy Owens with the alert, quick hands, has his head down, but able to see Glen Rice going in on that left side. That pass was actually behind, but Glen Rice did a nice job of gathering it in and finishing on that play, as this is how the Miami Heat have to play. They have to get out and run. Otherwise, they have a very difficult time scoring.
And Rice is fouled by Royal. What a strange game between Orlando and Boston on Thursday. Orlando shoots 61%, but at the foul line, 11 of 23. Shaquille was 2 for 11, and Boston just killed the Magic off the boards. Kevin Willis not able to hit, and Nick Anderson, who's making his return here this afternoon, able to handle it off the boards. Hardaway played by Reeves, finding O'Neal.
Well, not enough pressure on the ball by Khalid Reeves, and Kevin Willis trying to front in that situation. I'm sure that's a little different wrinkle than Alvin Gentry wasn't ready for, and the easy pass to Shaq.
Could be a field day here for Shaquille. Rice knocks down the 3. Miami does not have the dominant center going with the combination of John Sally and Matt Geiger. Geiger was the starter earlier in the season, then was hit with the flu. Was out of the lineup, replaced by Sally, and has not been able to get his job back, so Sally has been in the starting lineup. That is last touch, kicked out by Owens.
Here's Shaq spinning nicely on Kevin Willis as Willis tried to front. Not really a bad idea by Kevin Willis because Shaq was already in the paint, which is a perfect pass by Penny Hardaway.
And off the double team, O'Neal was met by help. Glen Rice called for the foul. Orlando's magic number to clinch at least a tie for the Eastern Conference top seeding is still at 2. Any combination of Orlando wins and Nick losses adding up to 2 would do it. That is a 3 for Nick Anderson. So Anderson from downtown to give the Magic a 7-5 lead. Here is Rice. Yes. Glen Rice off to the fast start, and the game is tied at 7.
One of the rare times that the Miami Heat execute well. That time they ran their play well. The Magic switched, and Glen Rice got a nice clean look.
O'Neal giving it up on the double team, but it's stolen. It's a 4-on-1. Reeves for Owens. Anderson was trying to draw a charge. It's Miami 9 and Orlando 7.
It looked like Custer's last stand there. Nick said, hey, I've been gone, guys, for a couple of weeks now, and I'm the only one back on defense. That's about all he could do on that play other than take a hard foul and make him earn it at the line.
Hardaway trying to lead O'Neal. Good recovery. Yes, sir, counts. And Shaquille will go to the line.
Well, on Nick Anderson's first catch, a pass from Penny Hardaway, he missed the three-point shot. Undaunted, spots up again on penetration by Hardaway. Finds Nick Anderson, 1 out of 2 from beyond the arc for Nick. And Glen Rice with not a hand in his face. He'll knock that shot down all day long.
Foul on Sally put Shaquille O'Neal at the line, and he's able to hit on his first free throw. This after the 2 of 11 the other night against the Celtics. Willis rebounded by O'Neal. I should say by Owens. And now O'Neal gets to it. That pass with too much on it.
Right idea by Penny as he had Donald Royal running that right lane very hard. Knew he had to put it on the floor and knew he had to lay it out pretty far. Just Donald Royal couldn't catch up to it.
A rookie, Glen Rice, first-round draft pick. 12th pick overall. Now operating at the point guard position in the absence of the injured Bimbo Coles. Rice was pushed by Royal. You look at the Miami roster, it is totally revamped. A year ago, gone are the likes of Ronnie Cycli and Steve Smith and Grant Long and Ryan Shaw. Again, the lead pass, this time handled by Grant, who gets it out for Royal. And back come the Heat. Billy Owens, who handles the ball so well, setting up Glen Rice. Rebounded by Kevin Willis. Earlier this season, there was much speculation concerning the possibility of a deal for Scottie Pippen, and the talk was Glen Rice and Ronnie Cycli for Pippen.
Yeah, Glen Rice's name is constantly coming up in trade rumors, mainly because he is the best player on the Miami Heat and has the most valuable. The rumor before was he and Willie Burton going to the Clippers last year for Danny Manning, which never came about, or what was supposed to.
Well, Willis, after missing his first four, able to hit. It's the Heat by one. Donald Royal sitting down after picking up 3 fouls here in the early going, replaced by Brian Shaw.
It's a good job by Glen Rice to be active against a good defender like Donald Royal and challenge him and draw those fouls.
Willis off the lead from Reeves. Very spirited start here by the Miami Heat, and they lead by 3 points.
Well, Mark, they got to know from watching a lot of tape that the Orlando Magic have been very lax in getting back on defense, so when they get that clean rebound or steal, they will get an easy one at the other end.
And this capacity crowd here in Miami reacting to the good early play of the Heat.
Shaq kind of telegraphing that pass with a hook. Sally almost lost it, but Khalid Reeves keeping his head up on the play, and Kevin Willis, who has good speed, and both Shaquille O'Neal and Horace Grant never made it to midcourt.
Timeout is taken. You were watching the NBA on NBC. A minute ago, we were talking about the many changes the Miami Heat gone through since a year ago. Look at this. 6 members of last year's roster no longer with the club. Steve Smith, Grant Long going to Atlanta in a deal. Willie Burton now a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. Alec Kessler, Brian Shaw out here with the Orlando Magic. Ronnie Cycli dealt to Golden State. We talked about all these changes with the man who is still here, John Sally.
I think the changes kind of messed us up. We went through 4 of our starting 5 being traded. Coaches changed, ownership changed. We got players in here who we used to fight against. Now we have to hug.
And last year, this team won 42 games, 8th best in the Eastern Conference, extended Atlanta in the first round, and they were an outstanding defense and rebounding team, and it has all changed.
Shot clock at 6 as Hardaway looks it over and shoots. Yes. Penny Hardaway cutting it to a 1-point Miami lead. Miami at home with a record of 20 and 18. Still in the hunt for that 8th and final playoff spot, although it will be tough. They're 3 games behind the Celtics. John Sally, who has certainly heard it from the crowd here in Miami, hearing it on that long jump shot attempt.
And John is saying that the people and the media here in Miami don't really understand what his role is or really what his abilities are. He knows he can play defense, he can block some shots, doesn't really rebound that much, and does not have much of an offensive arsenal. But for all the money that he makes, people expect to be more of a scorer.
Shaw tries the 3. Billy Owens handling. Here's Reeves for 3. Willis keeps it alive. We are halfway through the first quarter. And the foul is called as Owens was looking to post up, taking advantage of Brian Shaw. Shaw is called for the personal. Getting back to the subject of John Sally, his strength is when he's a complementary player on a contending team. And you mentioned things such as defense and block shots. But the Heat paid him like a star, and as a result of all the hype, so much more was expected.
John Sally is so often asked to play defensive center. He normally plays Shaquille O'Neal. He's not doing it today. This is a little bit of a change for Miami because he's giving up a lot of size and strength.
Nice ball movement by Orlando to find the open man, Hardaway. So Penny Hardaway knocks down the 3. He has 5 points. And it's Orlando 15 and Miami 13. Marv Albert with Matt Gukas and Ahmad Rashad from the Miami Arena. Quick release by Glen Rice, who had a strong game at Madison Square Garden earlier this week against the Knicks. Equaled a career high with 24 points. Rice off the deflection.
Well, that was unusual. Brian Shaw posting up and then getting double teamed of all things and trying to feed O'Neal.
Sally rejected by Grant, and apparently Hardaway stepped out as he tried to break. So the ball goes back to the Heat.
Here, John Sally going relatively strong, but a terrific recovery by Horace Grant, coming out of nowhere to knock that thing loose and catch it himself and try to start the fast break. But that's the kind of defensive player Horace Grant is, always aware of what's going out on the floor, always ready to help teammates.
Grant with another block, stopping Owens. Hardaway posting up, Sally over to help out. Anderson changed his mind, thought he had someone.
That just shows you the rust in Nick Anderson's game right now. Has not even been able to practice very much, only able to shoot the ball as he jumped in the air, not really ready to play. And Nick has become so comfortable this year at planting himself behind the free throw line. Sometimes does it maybe a little too much. Has to remember that he is also an outstanding slasher and a good post player.
High number of turnovers by the Magic here at the start. Sally will go to the line. Sally cutting for the basket on the foul. Foul on Anderson. The plan, and we talked about this last night with Brian Hill, he was hoping that Nick Anderson would take part in a shoot-around on Monday, and then they would make a decision as to his return coming off the concussion. But in a surprise, he reported last night to the hotel, said he's ready, and here he is, back in the starting lineup.
And I think Nick realizes that there's just not going to be that many quality practices before now in the end of the regular season. There will be during that week before the playoffs, but Nick wants to get as much game competition as he can before the practices start to get ready for the playoffs.
John Sally, a 73% free throw shooter. The game is tied at 15. Leads by 1.
A lot of changing matchups by both teams. You see Billy Owens on Hardaway right now. That's mainly to take away Hardaway's post up because Billy Owens is right about 6'9".
Now it is Reeves switching off to Hardaway, who used the pick. Anderson for 3. The back tap from Sally. Fast break opportunity for the Heat. Rice for 3.
Shaq finished.
Miami leads 19-17. Shaquille with his 3rd field goal. He has 7 points in all. Owens with the post up on Anderson, and the pass rejected by O'Neal. Here comes Dennis Scott checking in for the first time, coming on for Nick Anderson.
He's really happy with the job Khalid Reeves has done since he has gotten the chance to start with Bimbo Coles out that time, making the right decision, finding Glen Rice. And this is what Shaq has really done very well this year, running the floor in transition, running right for the rim, and people like Shaw and Hardaway will find him.
3:21 remaining. First quarter, Heat by 2.
Well, Glen Rice gets his 10th point on this fast break jump shot. But watch Shaquille O'Neal, who was trailing on the play, never got back in the flow. He's going to take off at this end. And then keep an eye on Kevin Willis, who's going to congratulate Glen Rice on the way back. And while he's congratulating him, talking to him, his man, Shaquille O'Neal, has a clear run at the basket to finish off that play. Nice shot, Glenn.
Miami with a 19-17 lead on Orlando. Here is Rice. floor. Anthony Avent has come on for the first time along with Dennis Scott. 3 minutes to go in this first quarter, and a foul is called on Sally. That is his second. Well, Shaquille O'Neal getting a rest. 3 of 5, 1 from the line, 7 points in all. Now Hardaway facing a double team, finds the open man, Horace Grant.
Well, this is the danger with these kind of double teams. Normally, a team is used to double teaming a big man, a big forward, or a center. But when you're double teaming the point guard, the rotations are at that time Kevin Willis, and there's been some controversy here about him rotating on defensively. Never got there.
Well, there's a situation a couple of weeks back where he did not make the proper rotation. Heard it from his teammates. Kevin was very upset. What a move by Hardaway. Anthony Hardaway has tied the game at 21. So Kevin Willis's teammates upset with him. He was upset with his teammates. Oh, there's Glen Rice again. Willis upset with his teammates for reacting to him publicly. Rice with 14 of the Heat's 23 points. Hardaway with a look away for Grant, and a foul is called.
Let's take a look at that play as Penny Hardaway is going to post up on this left block area and get the double team. Horace Grant will make a hard cut to the basket all the way in here, but keep your eye on Kevin Willis, who just turns and looks and never gets into that basket area as he's trying to get legal. He was supposed to be at the rim to protect.
Foul on Reeves. Horace Grant to the line. Matt Geiger has checked in, replacing John Sally. Relieves with 2 personal fouls.
Oh, we talked about it in the opening about if the Heat were going to have a chance today, Glen Rice would have to have a big game. So far he has with 14 points. I remember a game back in 1992. Glen Rice got his career high 46 with all kinds of different players draped all over him. It doesn't matter when a player like Glen Rice gets the hot hand. He's a tough customer.
Who was setting up the defensive situation that
must have been our defensive coach. His name I forget.
The Heat by 1 as we come up on 2 minutes remaining. 2 minutes in this first quarter. Kevin Gamble on the floor for the first time for Miami, being guarded by Dennis Scott. Willis from Gamble, and Willis will go to the line.
Curious to watch Kevin Gamble today, watching the Heat practice yesterday, and because they did not have enough healthy bodies, they were only able to work 4-on-4, which happens to most teams during the course of the season, but you can still assimilate a lot of NBA situations in 4-on-4. But Kevin Gamble got the hot hand, and I was counting them, made 15 straight jump shots on plays. They just could not stop him, and a good defender was on him, Keith Haskins, and they were ready to throw the bucket of water on him. He was that high.
Well, Gamble in the past among the leaders in field goal percentage, been an injury hit season for Kevin Gamble. This is his first year with the Miami Heat. Miami leads by 3. Foul. Reeves making contact with Shaw. Glen Reeves, that is his second. Miami is over the foul limit. The Orlando Magic coming into today now just 3 games in front of the Knicks. Following today, they have 4 games remaining. The Knicks red hot. They've won 5 in a row. They come off the dramatic win last night against the Pacers in Indianapolis on the last second shot by Derek Harper. And the Knicks and Orlando will meet next Sunday afternoon in a game that will be seen on NBC. That'll be from Madison Square Garden. Geiger slashing to the hoop, and he's called for a travel.
The crowd doesn't like it, nor does Matt Geiger. He felt he caught this ball in stride and slashed hard to the basket. Little shuffle of the feet as he put that right one down. Watch it again. I don't know. On that particular shot, it looked like he may have had his feet set. He definitely got hacked on the play. He had that part right.
Miami 25, Orlando 23. Horace Grant coming off a season high 29 points in the game against Boston on Thursday on 14 of 21, and Horace off to the good start. He's hit his first 3 shots. Oh, Billy Owens taking it to the hoop with authority, and the Heat leads by 2 with just
foul, and that puts Billy Owens in the point guard slot.
Shaw for three. Geiger with the rebound. Gamble looking for the shot. No! And back comes Hardaway. Avent racing with Gamble. Hardaway able to take it all the way.
And that's the problem when you don't have a natural point guard on the floor, or even a natural guard for that matter. No backcourt coverage, and the Magic get the easy breakaway. Miami Heat tried to do this when Billy Owens first came over. They thought he could be a lead guard, especially against like Hardaway because of the size. It has not worked for them.
And a foul is called against Miami. A loose ball foul on Geiger.
Well, Penny Hardaway trying to put pressure on Billy Owens, underestimating him a little bit, released him to a degree, and he just beat him to the basket. And what Brian Hill was upset about, nobody picked up, and then nobody back on defense for the Miami Heat as everybody crashing to the boards. It's a layup drill.
Hardaway has hit 4 of 4 from the field, 10 points, along with 6 assists. A career-high 19 assists in the Magic's last outing against the Celtics on Thursday. Anthony Avent.
And Anthony Avent is the player that the Magic expect to step up the most come playoff time. He is going to have to make a contribution, backing up Horace Grant and backing up Shaquille O'Neal just to give him some physical presence inside, bang around, get some rebounds, play some defense, as he did last year in only the 3 games against Indiana. Anthony Avent and Larry Krystkowiak both did a reasonably good job. That's not why they got swept in that series.
And the Magic, the worst free throw shooting team in the NBA, having its ups and downs once again at the line. 4 of 7 here in the first quarter. Final seconds of the quarter. Reeves for 3. Last touch by the Heat with 0.6 of a second to go in this first quarter.
All the way back.
Orlando leads by 1. Avent will throw in. Grant save, and I guess the shot attempt. Well, Glen Rice on fire in this first quarter. 6 of 8 from the field, 14 points, 2 of 3 from downtown after 1 here in Miami. It's the Magic 28 and the Heat 27.
You're watching the NBA on NBC.
Glen Rice with a terrific start, 6 of 8 from the field, 14 points in all, hit a couple from downtown. He is one of the all-time three-point shooters. In fact, he is number 4 in terms of attempts. Glen Rice, a man who certainly didn't mind the three-point line being moved a bit closer. We talked about that with him.
I was happy. I knew it was going to give a lot of other guys a chance to become three-point shooters, but for myself, it was going to make my job a little bit easier, and, you know, it was going to make teams that much more aware of me, and, you know, it was going to help our team.
It's interesting. Some of the other three-point shooters like Glen Rice, Reggie Miller, Dan Marley, Mark Price, all have the opposite view. We talked about them trying to trade Glen Rice a couple of times. He's now in his 6th year and passed Grant Long for the all-time number of games, 474 as a Miami Heat.
Well, Shaquille O'Neal is back on the floor. Ken Turner and Anthony Bowie check in for the first time. As Billy Owens handles against Dennis Scott. Second quarter underway. Kevin Willis drawing a double team. Shot clock is down to 5. Here's Matt Geiger sweeping in. Matt Geiger in his 3rd NBA season out of Georgia Tech. Actually spent the first 2 years collegiately at Auburn and then transferred to Georgia Tech. Shaw for 3. Rebounded by Geiger. Matt Geiger, very aggressive player. He feels that is his role, but he's also picked up his scoring. Nice pass from Gamble. Owens just could not convert. But Owens with the rebound.
Well, we've seen some terrific defensive sequences by Miami throughout this first half. That last one was a beauty because Matt Geiger was just so active in the rotation, and when they move that quickly, they'll be effective defensively.
Willis from deep. Run down by Rice with no conscience. Just grabbed it, turned, fired, and it's all going in for Glen Rice. Another three. He has 17 points. The Heat up by 4. Here's Shaw, O'Neal, and Shaquille will go to the line.
Willis, after making a beautiful pass to Matt Geiger on a cut, just takes a terrible jump shot there as he never had his feet set. But when you're guarding Glen Rice, you have to stay with him every second that he's in the offensive end. He just chased that long rebound down with his back to the play, and nobody followed him out there. He's a threat to shoot it anytime he's within 25 feet.
All right, Matt, everyone has analyzed the free throw shooting style of Shaquille O'Neal. As a man who coached Shaquille in his rookie, and we've seen Shaquille actually drop down in terms of free throw percentage. It's under 54% this year. What is his problem?
Well, right now, just watching him, he bends his knees right before he's about to shoot, but he's putting an extra hitch in there, so before he releases the ball, he straightens those knees, and there is the shot doctor, Buzz Brayman, who is just beside himself right now with the way things are going. He spent some time with Shaq this morning, and Shaq shot 200 free throws, and just trying to make fix one little mechanical error.
Foul on Bowie, and that will put Rice on the line. You talk to Orlando teammates, and they say he hits the free throws during practice, for what that's worth.
Well, Mark, you and I can hit them in practice, but
maybe one of us.
Okay, I know you.
No, I wasn't talking about myself. Okay. Please, Matt.
But it is a lot different because this is preying on Shaq's mind right now. But there's a number of things that have gone awry. The grip has gotten too wide right now, so the release is not good. Now he's starting to catapult a little more, and then you talk about the stray legs. But Buzz is not telling Shaq all those things. He's just trying to correct it with one improvement and see how that works for the next week or so.
You so rarely see players dramatically improve their free throw shooting. I know in New York they're very pleased that Anthony Bonner has made great improvement, although he doesn't go to the line that frequently. Foul before the shot. Crowd enjoying the Matt Geiger block, but that came after a foul committed by John Sally. That is 3 on Sally. Well, Orlando at 67% in all. That's the worst in the NBA. The NBA average is just under 74.
But if you take Shaquille out of that mix, the rest of the Orlando Magic shoot 74%, just a little bit better than the average. But I don't think you want to give up Shaquille O'Neal. I think you'll suffer through with the problems.
Orlando 4 of 9 at the line today. Miami in the midst of a 7-0 run. But you have to wonder the effect come playoff time. That will count. And the foul. So Shaquille back to the line.
His first, team's third timeout.
And a timeout is called. Foul was picked up by Keith Askins. Here is O'Neal operating down low. Yes, and the hack. We'll be back in a moment. You're watching the NBA on NBC.
NBA on NBC is brought to you by Beechwood Aged Budweiser. It's always been true. This Bud's for you. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. And by All Sport Body Quencher. After this sports drink, the game will never be the same.
Oh, gorgeous day here in the Miami area. The creativity has just become too clever for all of us, Matt. We were talking about Orlando's poor free throw shooting and wondering what effect this will have come playoff time when you have close games and critical free throw opportunities. We talked about that with Anthony Hardaway of the Magic.
And it's a big concern because right now we aren't making them. And, you know, you look at the free throw percentage after the game, and it's horrible. I mean, we're missing 10 to 15 free throws a night, you know, easily. And teams are beating us by 2 and 3 points, or we're barely winning by 1 and 2. And, you know, that says, you know, if we make our free throws, we win these games easily. So in the playoffs, it's not going to be give you a layup or give you a dunk. It's going to be putting you on the foul line, and we just have to make them.
Well, there's so much talk about the free throw shooting, but to a man in that locker room and the coaches as well, realize that you just can't pinpoint foul shooting for the Providence. In that game against Boston the other night, the foul shooting was absolutely horrible in the fourth quarter, but the Magic gave up 20 offensive rebounds in that game, only 11 turnovers, but those 11 turnovers turned into 23 points. They are every bit as big factors as the poor foul shooting.
Brian Shaw called for a hand check foul. That is his second personal. Shaquille O'Neal is now 2 of 4 at the line. Miami 34, Orlando 31 with 2:15 gone by in the second quarter. Off the double team, O'Neal broke up the pass, and it was last touched by Bowie.
Well, this particular lineup the Heat have there right now, with the exception of Billy Owens, the other night in the fourth quarter in that comeback win against Cleveland, Khalid Reeves replacing Owens, these other 4 players for the Heat out on the floor, and they did an outstanding job.
Rice deep in the corner, stepped out of bounds. A good shooting start in the first quarter. Orlando 12 of 21, Miami 13 of 29. A host of three-pointers for both clubs. Glen Rice leading the way is 19 points for early in the second. And the foul call on Rice. That's his second.
Here is Shaq again with those legs very straight. but Buzz looking for any kind of positive he can find.
Shaq can bounce it off his head and Buzz will say, nice job. And an offensive foul called. It's on Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, baited no doubt by Matt Geiger, who's going to do a lot of banging and pushing and shoving, and he kind of fooled Shaq into backing into him.
Quick shot put up by Askins. Hardaway back on the floor. O'Neal. Nice twisting move by Shaquille O'Neal.
Well, undaunted that time, Shaq making sure he got the position, got 2 feet in the paint, and Matt Geiger was in jail at that point.
Owens foul. Billy Owens on the drive.
Shaq doing such a good job of running right down the middle of the lane and taking that position, holding the man on his back. Another good pass by Anthony Bowie, and all Shaq has to do is overpower Matt Geiger.
Well, a personal foul was called on Hardaway, and apparently had too much to say about it to the official, Jack Neese, and hit with a technical foul.
And Shaq doing a little barking of his own, a little upset with that previous call for backing in on Matt Geiger, letting the officials know about it.
Glen Rice not able to convert. And now Billy Owens to the free throw line. Billy Owens back after missing 4 games recently with a bruised calf. He was acquired from the Golden State Warriors in that deal involving Ronnie Cycli last year with Golden State. Became more of a point forward even when Latrell Sprewell was on the floor. He often initiated the offense.
He does it very well. For running everybody down on their free throw shooting. That's a big problem for Billy Owens as well, as he made 1 out of 2. He shoots 61% from the line, something that he's going to have to improve in as well as his perimeter shooting.
And Shaquille O'Neal has 14 points. He has tied the game at 35. Owens now operating at the point guard position. Here's Rice. Rebound O'Neal. Scott with Gamble back. There's Turner for 3. And a loose ball foul against the Heat. Reminder, tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time, it'll be final round coverage of the PGA Seniors Championship, presented by Advil and Oldsmobile. Raymond Floyd shooting a sizzling 67 today. He is the leader after 3 rounds at 9 under par. The conclusion of the PGA Seniors Championship, that is tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern, right here on NBC.
And that is why you refer to yourself as Mr. Golf.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't be surprised if Raymond Floyd showed up here today. He is a big Miami Heat fan, and Palm Beach Gardens not all that far away.
Orlando now in a 8-1 run, and they lead by 1 point. Liddell Eccles coming on for the first time. Billy Owens has been playing the point, although Eccles can handle the ball, and we might see him at the point guard position with Bimbo Cole still on the injured list. Following Khalil Reeves, Alvin Gentry recently going with Pritchard. Keith Haskins with his first field goal. I should say Kevin Pritchard, but Kevin is out with a strained ligament in his left knee. Illegal defense call. Harold Miner also sitting it out with a sprained left wrist. Miner to the left. That's Coles on the right. Right off. The Heat 37 and the Magic 36. Anthony Bowie. Well, Bowie hitting on his first field goal attempt.
And another pretty good rotation by the Miami Heat that time. It's Keith Haskins, the doubler. They move very quickly. Just better offense by Orlando as the two crisp passes got the open jumper for Anthony Bowie.
This is Eccles. Try to dump it off to Willis. And Bowie handling. Bowie with a 7 of 11, 14 points, 6 assists in Orlando's last game. Nicely done. Beautiful ball movement. And Hardaway with 12 points. He's given the Magic a 3-point lead.
Excellent look by Shaquille O'Neal. The reason he was able to find him, Kevin Willis didn't have his hands up. The double team came, but when you have your hands down, Shaq can see the whole floor.
Willis stopped from behind. A beautiful strip as they doubled up on Kevin Willis.
Let's keep an eye on Shaquille O'Neal as the double team coming down from the top by Haskins, but Kevin Willis puts his left hand up ever so softly and way too late, and that enabled Shaq to hook this pass in to Anthony Hardaway, slashing in from the right baseline.
It has been a hot shooting first half for Orlando. 16 of 26 from the field. Of the 55-point explosion against the Knicks 2 weeks ago at Madison Square Garden. That a brilliant performance by Michael Jordan. The Knicks, of course, with different thoughts on that matter as they go up against Michael and the Bulls tomorrow here on NBC. That'll be the second of our doubleheader. In the first game, as part of our regional twin bill, you'll either see David Robinson and the San Antonio Spurs against the Denver Nuggets, who are battling for a playoff spot, or Atlanta and Charlotte. All gets underway 3 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow.
And Michael is still looking for that breakout game at the United Center. Michael says he's not planning to ever go out and have a gigantic game, and I'm sure he'd like to get a couple of good ones before the playoff has started. It'll be interesting to see how New York defends Michael in thinking about giving up 55 last time they saw him.
Glen Rice with 21 points, and the Magic leads by 1. Well, Pat Riley normally does not like to double team, and for the most part, the Knicks did not in that game at the Garden until the end of the game, and off the double team, Jordan was able to find Bill Wennington for what proved to be the game-winning basket in a 2-point victory. O'Neal off the offensive board. O'Neal again with the rebound. And pops it out. Crowd wanted to travel. Hardaway finding Grant, and Grant with a hook shot.
Just terrific effort by the Orlando Magic on the board. The crowd wanted to travel for 3 seconds as Shaquille just planting himself in the lane and overpowering Kevin Willis and the rest of the small Orlando Miami Heat lineup. Right now, as this was a successful lineup the other night for Alvin Gentry, but it has not been over the last 6 minutes.
Traveling violation on Eccles. Well, Horace Grant has hit 4 out of 4. Penny Hardaway has hit 5 out of 5. It has been a very hot shooting first half for the Magic. Knocked away from Bowie. Nearly picked off by Anderson. Miami with the ball down by 3. Rice, yes! 3-pointer for Rice. He now has 24. He's 4 of 5 from downtown. He has tied the game at 42. Glen Rice, career high, 46. He had a 45-point game earlier this season. Haskins tried to steal it. Recovered by Hardaway. Anthony Bowie. this attempt. Anderson. And handled by Askins.
Oh, believe it or not, that was a shot towards the basket by Anthony Boone. He felt he was going to walk or turn the ball over, so he just decided to throw it up there, hoping to hit something and maybe Shaq to get it.
4.5 remaining. First half. Here's Reeves penetrating, and he's fouled. Foul on Anderson.
Well, the Miami Heat much more aggressive defensively on that last double team, and it forced this fast break opportunity, and terrific ball movement as 4 players handle the ball on that fast break play, as none of the passes were particularly sharp, but at least they kept the ball in play. That little explanation I gave for Anthony Bowie, at least that's what he's going to tell Brian Hill and his teammates after. And I could tell he was afraid of putting that foot down and being called for a walk, so he just threw it towards the glass.
Glen Rice, the rookie from Arizona, who's listed at 6'3". I would say he's closer to 6'1".
I think you're right. And Alvin Gentry was telling me it's David Wall saying that I used to have a big point guard like Khalid Reeves. And look at this big point guard.
Oh, Hardaway has certainly had his way. He's at all 6 of his shot attempts. He now has 14 points. Miami leads by 2. Askins for 3 with an air ball. Wild shot by Keith Askins. That was beyond downtown.
And he's not going to be able to cop out of that one. That was just a terrible shot. A little hesitation move by Hardaway, and able to get a step and overpower Khalid Reeves on the baseline. Very difficult matchup for Khalid Reeves, and you're closer to being right at 6'1" than 6'3".
Keel lost the grip, and he caught his own pass, so it is a traveling violation. Kevin Gamble, Billy Owens, Matt Geiger getting set to check back in.
Shaq actually trying to throw a little jump hook in there, slipped out of his hand, and once you release a shot or a pass, you cannot touch that ball until it touches another player or the rim.
And Shaquille O'Neal has just been hit with a technical foul. He persisted in the argument. Horace Grant trying to settle things down. Glen Rice missed a technical earlier. 25 points for Rice. The Heat 47 and the Magic 44. Brian Hill and the Orlando Magic trying to show that yes, they can win on the road. They dropped 3 straight against teams under 500 on the road. They've lost 4 straight overall on the road and 13 of their last 17. Liddell Engels, who certainly is not shy about firing from all angles, that time drew the foul. It's on Grant, his first. At one point, the Magic had a road record of 14-7. Their last road win was at Utah, March the 31st. So, Matt, they won at Utah. They won in Chicago. Michael Jordan's home return at the United Center. They win in Houston, but they lose in Detroit, in Philadelphia. They lost at New Jersey. In February, they lost at Minnesota.
I think the big key there is they are ready for the better teams. They are more interested. They are more involved, and they've just been unable to get up for some of these weaker teams. But don't forget, a lot of these games against the weaker teams have been when the Magic are undermanned, with Penny Hardaway out, with Brian Shaw out, and with Nick Anderson out.
Of course, that is the optimistic way of looking at it.
And that's the way Brian Hill is.
No question.
And they're going to say, hey, we're only going to play good teams in the playoffs, except maybe the first round, the Boston Celtics. But hey, give the Celtics credit as they came away with a win the other night.
Well, O'Neal will go to the line following the move on Geiger.
I just noticed that bandage on Shaq's ring finger of his right hand, and I don't know, I never saw that before today. Actually, before the play before that one, I wonder if he did something in this game.
That was a throwaway going off the back iron. So Shaquille is 3 of 7 from the line. 2-point lead for the Heat. We come up on 3 minutes left in the half. Owens rejected. Rejected by O'Neal. That's his second block. Fast break. Hardaway on a 3-on-2 is fouled. Hit out of reach in. Hit by Gamble.
And we just got word that Shaq's finger was taped before the ball game. And that may be bothering him. He's had mishandled some balls, and there it is right before the start of the game, and it looks swollen there. Shaq is certainly not going to use that as an excuse for free throw shooting, but on that one attempted jump hook when that ball slipped out of his hand, that could have been a reason for it.
Hardaway, 77% foul shooter. It has been a brilliant first half for Hardaway. 16 points, 6 of 6 from the field, 6 assists. Here's some pressure by the Magic. Eccles, broken up by O'Neal. Nice play by Shaquille.
I believe the TV guide lists this, so coming up on the Prudential halftime report, we'll take a look at the San Antonio Spurs. Their 57-20 record is the best in the league, heading into tomorrow's game on NBC against the Denver Nuggets. We'll also take a look at the Rookie of the Year race and get Peter Bessie and Julius Erving's choice. That's coming up at halftime. Now back to Miami. The Magic and Heat tied at 48. Marv Albert, Matt Gukas, and Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Bob. Back at Miami Arena. Now, for those of you that wonder if we cover every single angle of an NBA basketball game, let me tell you that on Shaquille O'Neal's right ring finger, he had a blood blister, and he just likes to keep that entire finger covered up so that he doesn't infect it or have anything else happen to it. So that's why he's wearing the bandage on that finger. Marv?
Matt, that's why he is the dean. A brilliant bit of sideline reporting by Ahmad Rashad. Game is tied at 48 with 2:45 remaining in the first half. Willis setting the screen for Eccles. Kevin Gamble shooting. Miami 50 and Orlando 48. High point man of the game, Glen Rice with 25. Shaquille O'Neal with 17. Penny Hardaway with 16 points. Here's O'Neal swinging in. Rebounded by Willis and a foul on Grant.
Well, Shaq forcing the issue in there, trying to power through Kevin Willis and Matt Geiger, really not attempting to make this first shot. I think he just wanted to throw it up against the glass and between the rim there so he could get it himself, but he fell down on the play, and that almost started a Miami Heat fast break, and Horace Grant sensed it as well to commit the foul. So, Marv, as you talked about before, that the Heat might use Liddell Eccles at the point guard a little bit with Khalid Reeves when he is getting a breather. He was at that position briefly along with Billy Owens, and now it's Billy Owens by himself out there. And when you have a big lineup like that and not a natural ball handling guard, it's a good idea to get out and trap and pressure as much as you can to force people to handle the ball where they are not used to handling it.
Kevin Willis is a 69% free throw shooter, hearing the grumblings from the crowd after missing the 2 free throws. We're approaching 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Hardaway for O'Neal.
Beautiful play by Penny Hardaway to get in the lane, get the hands up from Matt Geiger, and then the nice little dish to Shaquille.
The game is tied at 50. 7 assists for Hardaway. Rice. And he was hacked. So Glen Rice will go to the line.
Penny Hardaway turns the corner going to his left so well and uses that stride to get head and shoulders by his defender. And once he does that, the defense is at his mercy. They have to honor his penetration to the basket. And Penny is one of those kinds of players who would rather make a pass than score himself. And
Glen Rice with 25 points. The rest of the Heat with 25. I'd have to say, Matt, this is the best performance in the city of Miami by Rice since Jerry on Super Bowl Sunday.
And the way that Glen Rice just came off that last screen was textbook. He waited for it to be set. He brushed his body against him, got his feet set, did not make the shot, just did an excellent job of moving without the ball. And that's what shooters have to do to get good looks at the basket.
Rice comes in averaging just under 22 per game. Shaquille O'Neal with 21. So it has become a duel between Shaquille O'Neal and Glen Rice. Rice with 27. The game is tied at 52. Here is Rice. Rebound O'Neal, and he's fouled. Haskins trying to strip, and Geiger also making contact. Look out! Haskins throwing the ball down court. Neely got Bernie Fryer, was not looking that way.
Well, Bernie at the last second saw that ball out of the corner of his eyes and just flinched to get out of the way. Bernie Fryer, a former NBA player.
Yes, good peripheral here. Let's see. Let's check out the peripheral
Keith Haskins, a little down and out. And he knew as soon as he let it go that Bernie was not looking. He tried to body English it away to keep Bernie from getting hit right in the noggin.
Yes, Bernie played with the Portland Trailblazers and also saw some action in the ABA, and he is the only former NBA player to be officiating. Remember Don Nelson once thought that he'd take a crack at it?
Well, he did. He went to the Summer League in Los Angeles after he retired as a player from the Boston Celtics. And admittedly, Don said he was absolutely awful. It drove him into coaching.
Hill hits 1 of 2, and he is 4 of 9 from the line. Orlando leads by 1. A minute 15 left in the half. Liddell Echols turns it over.
And there I'm talking about the pressure and how when you have a team out on the floor not used to handling the ball. Billy Owens is the only guy comfortable handling the ball out there, but that's when he is in a forward position. He is in a co-point guard position now with Liddell Echols.
Here's the double coverage. Owens coming over, and O'Neal thought he had Scott, but Willis picked it off. And he was fouled. Foul on Hardaway. That is his second. Brad Lohaus has come on for the first time for Miami, so Alvin Gentry using the entire roster. He does not have the services of Harold Miner and Kevin Pritchard, both out because of injuries. Bimbo Cole still on the injury list with a sprained hamstring. And Kevin Willis, who missed his last 2 free throws. Now 3 of 5 at the line. He has 9 points.
Well, he came over in that controversial trade at the beginning of the season from Atlanta for Grant Long and Steve Smith. And Kevin Lockery, who was an assistant coach under Bobby Weiss with Atlanta, knew Kevin Willis very well, and he thought he was going to get a tough, physical inside player, which is what Kevin Willis was for so many years in Atlanta. It has not panned out that way yet for Miami.
Willis also comes off his best NBA season a year ago. Horace Grant, 11 points on 5 and a 6 from the field, and Orlando shooting just under 60%. 22nd timeout taken by Miami with 34 seconds to go in this first half. That's Alvin Gentry, the interim head coach of the Miami Heat. Gentry has been told a decision about whether he remains head coach should be made somewhere mid-May, but management has promised him a position with the team regardless. Dave Wohl now heading up the Miami Heat. He was named executive vice president of basketball operations. Dave, one-time assistant coach and scout with Miami.
And Dave has been around the league. Right now he's out with the rest of the player personnel directors, general managers, scouts, whatever, out in the Phoenix area looking at college basketball players. Big job ahead for Dave Wohl. A lot of people in and around the Miami organization feel that the truck will be backing up and a lot of changes will be made.
Half minute left in the half. Echols setting up against Anderson. Echols way off. O'Neal with the rebound.
Well, Echols, a terrific one-on-one player, is a bit rusty as he has been out with injury and some illness in the family he had to go see about it. Not able to get by Nick Anderson that time. Good defense by Nick.
Orlando with a 1-point lead and holding for a final shot of the half, and Hardaway took a punt from Owens. Both teams over the limit. Owens called for his first foul, and Hardaway to the line. Coming into today, Orlando with a record of 55-22, 3 games in front of the Knicks. They've lost 3 of the last 4. The Knicks have won 5 in a row. Will be very, very difficult for the Knicks to catch Orlando with Magic having games against Washington, a home and home, and then Indiana. They finish up against the Knicks. But the Knicks did not even think they'd be in this position, but they have turned it on at the play. Lohaus called for a traveling violation with 1 second remaining, and now Brian Hill takes a 20-second timeout.
Well, Brad Lohaus knew that he had just precious few seconds to try to get somewhere within his range to launch that shot up in the basket, and as he tried to gather his feet, he took that extra little step. Brad Lohaus went through a stretch, it was about 6 or 7 games ago, where he just hit 15 straight field goals, were all threes before he finally got a tee. Watch Brad Lohaus's size 17s here, as he felt and heard the footsteps of Horace Grant on his right shoulder.
A look at that Orlando schedule. Monday night, home for Washington. Wednesday at Landover. Next Friday, home for Indiana. And then the game that will be seen on NBC next Sunday afternoon, the Knicks and the Orlando Magic. Dennis Scott loops it up for Hardaway, who fires. Nearly hit off glass. That was right on target. High energy first half here in Miami. The Magic with a 57-54 lead on the Heat. All right, here is Hardaway going glass, eluding Billy Owens. Excellent in the first half, just under 58%, yet Miami able to hang right in.
Well, I thought the Magic would come out with more fire in their eyes at the defensive end after the disappointing loss in Boston the other night, but I think you have to give the Heat a lot of credit. They took their fast breaks when they were there, and when you have a hot hand like Glen Rice, that's going to take care of a lot of problems.
Well, let's take a look at some of those impressive first half statistics. The Miller Lite halftime stats. The Magic 22 of 38 shooting, 58%. The Heat 18 of 41 for 44%. And Shaquille O'Neal in his 21 minutes, 9 of 14, 22 points along with 10 rebounds. From downtown, the Magic 2 of 9, and the Heat 4 of 9. Glen Rice hitting all 4 three-pointers, and he was able to light it up on 9 of 13 shooting for 27 points. Back with the second half here at the Miami Arena in a moment. 22 for O'Neal. Hardaway with 18. Hardaway 6 of 7 for the field. His only miss was that fling right at the end of the half. 11 for Grant, who continues to shoot well. Rice with 27 and Willis with 10. Glen Rice 9 of 13 from the field, 4 of 5 from three-point land, and 5 of 6 from the foul line.
Well, the Magic not getting much help from their bench in that first half. Only 3 points, 1 for Avent and 2 for Bowie, and Dennis Scott only playing 8 minutes, not even getting a shot up.
It is Orlando ball as we open up the third quarter. Comes back to O'Neal. And last touched by Miami.
John Sally just got hit by a runaway freight train. Trying to get the license number of that thing as Shaq just barrels into John Sally. And that's not a case of being too far under the rim. When the player is coming in from the dead baseline, you can stand almost under the rim and take that hit, and it should be a charge. Another one.
And this is a charge. Nick Anderson, who made his return today after missing 4 games because of the concussion suffered last week, called for the charge.
Same type of situation coming on the baseline, and John Sally there. His ribs have to be really sore at this point, but he probably had to like the Nick hit better than the Shaq one.
Reeves and Owens at the guards. Sally, Rice, and Willis up front. Nice move. It counts. And the foul. Hardaway called for his second foul.
And this play right out of the Golden State playbook. Hit the man off that little elbow area, cut off him. Have a little action on the other side of the floor, and Billy Owens with that quick first step just blowing by Nick Anderson, who was not ready defensively.
8 points for Owens. And the game is tied at 57. O'Neal with Grant and Royal up front. Hardaway and Anderson in the backcourt. Hardaway with the hesitation dribble gives it up to Grant. Horace Grant has hit 6 of 6. He has 13 points, and the Magic with a 2-point lead.
Horace talking to himself as he backpedaled on defense. He's saying, I can't believe I get this many open shots with these 2 players, Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway. He gets so many good looks from the top of the key.
And it will be Orlando ball. The Orlando Magic gunning for win number 56. They have lost 3 of the last 4. They've dropped 4 straight on the road. The magic number to clinch at least a tie for the Eastern Conference top seeding is down to 2. Tipped home with the slam effect by Shaquille O'Neal. He has 24 points. And it's Orlando 61 and Miami 57. Kevin Willis loves that baby hook from that particular spot.
Normally he will take the jump hook on the catch, but that did not work in the first half as Shaquille blocked it once and changed it another time. By putting the ball on the floor, he can clear himself from Shaq.
Oh, that looked too easy. Royal able to push it right back to Shaquille, who had terrific position, and he drew the foul.
Well, Shaq very smart here. After he gives it up on the double team, does not stand still, starts barreling into the offensive board, and you could see there Kevin Willis just did not put up any resistance. This is something that Charles Barkley did so well for so many years. After he would get the ball up out of a double team, he really became a threat on the offensive glass. Hey, Charles is still doing it, but Shaq has to do more of that. And on those kinds of plays, it's hard to foul Shaquille O'Neal.
3-point play completed by Shaquille, and Orlando leads by 5. John Sally called for the last foul, now playing with 4. Reeves getting it down low to Owens. Oh, slammed home. Sally with his first field goal. The Magic 64, the Heat 61. 2.5 gone by in the third quarter. Again, Grant taking the pass off the double team, and Harris fires away. He's 7 for 7. He has 15 points.
And that time, Glen Rice did get a hand in his face. That probably felt a little bit better. You don't like to get too open on those kinds of plays.
Kevin Willis has 14 points. Orlando 66, Miami 63. O'Neal able to set up down deep, getting great position.
Beautiful timing on the cross-court pass first to Nick Anderson, and Shaq timing it beautifully, covering up his defender and getting that excellent positional length. Good pass by Nick Anderson.
29 points for O'Neal. He's been averaging better than 30 a game, plus 16 rebounds the last 5 games. There is the jump hook by Kevin Willis.
You post up, I'll post up, we'll double team, we'll get an open shot. Not very good defense being played well right now, but some good passing and good post play.
Orlando by 3. Anderson eluding Owens. Nick Anderson with his second bucket. He has 5 points. We are not seeing any stops at either end of the court.
The defense has really deteriorated. A lot of that comes because the double team defense becomes a cop-out defense. Oh, I'm going to double team, and that's not my man, and somebody didn't rotate and somebody didn't pick up. I'd like to see teams do throughout the course of the game, everybody just play your own man and see how it works for a while.
29 points now for Glen Rice. He's hit 10 of 14 from the field. 3-point Orlando lead. And a 3-second violation.
Well, I'm sure Shaq and Brian Hill are not going to mind that very much, getting a 3-second call every once in a while for all the damage Shaq has done to the Heat this afternoon by getting into the lane and not getting 3 seconds called off.
Rice for 3. Glen Rice, 5 of 6 from downtown. 32 points in all, and the game is tied at 70.
And that with a hand in his face with the lineup that the Magic have out there right now. They can switch on almost every play with the exception when Shaq is involved.
Orlando has hit its last 5 shots. They're shooting 62% for the game. Wide open Shaquille O'Neal spotted by Penny Hardaway. 6 straight for the Magic. Meanwhile, Miami has hit its last 5. The Magic 72 and the Heat 70. 5 minutes in. Third quarter. Here's Rice. Glen Rice off the dribble. Willis. And Royal with the rebound. Anderson just set it up. Magic hitting their last 6 shots. And the call away from the ball is Shaquille O'Neal got involved with John Sally. And that is number 5 committed.
By Castrol Syntec, the full synthetic motor oil that protects in ways other oils can't. And by Reebok. Come see how the game is played on Planet Reebok.
86-degree day here in the Miami area. Indoors at the Miami Arena, some attempted physical defensive play by Miami against Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaquille, from time to time, has had to elevate his style from an aggressive point of view. We talked about that with him last night.
When I get physical, you know, they don't think I'm trying to be flagrant or dirty and, you know, give me a technical or whatever. I would like to do unto others as they do unto me.
You know, if they called all the fouls on Shaquille O'Neal, he'd probably foul out of the game in the first half. On the other hand, if he called all the fouls against Shaquille O'Neal, he'd probably shoot 25 free throws. So that's why it's so tough to officiate Shaquille O'Neal.
Horace Grant with his first miss of the afternoon. Hit his first 7 shots. Orlando is now 7 of 9 from the field here in the third quarter. Miami 7 of 12. The Magic by 2, trying to break. The Heat able to get back. Anderson shoveling to Royal. Play by Willis to keep it away from O'Neal. Here's Owens eluding Hardaway. And the game is tied at 72. O'Neal now guarded by Geiger with some help from Owens. Yes, and it counts. And Shaquille has reached the point where he is unstoppable. Matt Geiger coming on for John Sally, who has 5 fouls.
But this is a big concern for the Magic and Brian Hill. That really was not a situation where the Heat should get that easy a fast break. Poor transition defense, and here's Shaq laying that body on Geiger and overpowering Matt Geiger inside. When he lays that shoulder on you, you're at his mercy, and that's when most teams, and I'm sure as this game wears on, if it's close, that they will take the hard foul on Shaquille O'Neal and make him go to the line before he can make a basket.
Shaq has hit his last 3 at the line. He's now 6 for 11. He has 34 points. Orlando up by 3. Shot clock is down to 5. Reeves for 3. Rebounded by Grant. Nice box out against Geiger. Hardaway with the spin. Hardaway beating Reeves off the dribble. What a move by Penny Hardaway. And it's Orlando up 77-72. 20 points for Hardaway, along with 13 assists. He had 19 in Orlando's last game, the losing effort against the Celtics in Boston. Shot clock at 4. Willis. Well, Kevin Willis has had the touch in this third quarter.
And so often the Heat do get a mismatch with Billy Owens at 6'8", able to have a size differential against most shooting guards and even small forwards in the league, and it makes other teams double team. That's how you get open shots.
Grant. O'Neal. Whistle on the play before that shot attempt. And the foul is called on Miami.
Hardaway in the open floor will dazzle you a little bit between the legs and then the spin, and likes to always either cross over or spin back to his left hand in the open floor. Khalid Reeves, only in his first year, really not that familiar with it.
Hardaway. And the Magic up 79-74. Oh, look out. Billy Owens to the line.
And speaking of going left in the open floor, Billy Owens with a nice crossover had his head down momentarily. Shaq did not bite on the fake pass, just stays in there and takes the hard hit from Billy Owens. He wanted to fake Shaq out. Shaq wasn't going to buy that for anything. Stood there and said, I'm either going to foul you or you're going to charge me.
For Shaquille O'Neal, 34 points, season high 46, his career high 53. Glen Rice leading Miami with 32. The Magic 79 and the Heat 75. Miami Heat still breathing in terms of that 8th and final playoff spot, but it will be difficult as they chase the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. Miami a game behind Milwaukee and 3 behind Boston. Boston Celtics have been hot. 6 wins the last 7 games. Owens' call for the foul, his third.
Nice idea by the Magic and Donald Royal to give him a scoring opportunity by isolating him over on the left wing where he drives so well, with Billy Owens time and time again going in and posting up and creating some problems for the Magic defense. It's good to make a guy like Billy Owens play some defense every once in a while.
A quiet game for Donald Royal. He did start, played only 4 minutes in the first half. That his first point.
And the reason why Donald Royal, who has been starting, but Ryan Hill wants his best defender, best wing defender, and that is Donald Royal. Wanted him with Glen Rice, but Donald picked up those 3 fouls, and Glen Rice got hot.
Orlando leads by 4 with 4 minutes left in the third. Anderson given the room. Wide open three-pointer. Nick Anderson, he has 8 points in his return after missing the previous 4 games. And over that stretch, Orlando won only 1 and lost 3. The Magic up by 7. Willis with the jump hook over O'Neal.
And no double team, as the Magic will let Shaq only 2 personal fouls. See if he can't just get that arm up and force a tough shot from Willis.
Hardaway extending to a 9-point lead. It's the biggest. And there's the Spanish radio voice of the Miami Heat, Jose Pineda, who went from the maternity ward to press row just hours after his wife Anna delivered twin sons this past Thursday morning. Jose Jr. and Alexander, and there they are. A very proud Jose, the couple's first children. Jose Pineda, very popular here in the Miami area. Let's pick up the play-by-play.
Glen Rice arriba en la punta. Rice se mueve por la derecha. Rice buscando. Arriba marcado por Penny Hardaway. Glen Rice busca. Sigue arriba la línea de 3 puntos. Se la entrega a Glen Rice. Rice busca. Lisa lanza fuera. ¡Sí! Miami Heat ahora con 78.
Very nicely done by
Where
Jose.
did he get that?
Well, the Magic with an 85-78 lead. Let me translate that for you.
That one I understood.
Yes. Jose Pineda, the Spanish radio voice of the Miami Heat. 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the third quarter. Anthony Avent is back on the floor up front, along with Horace Grant, Donald Royal, Shaquille O'Neal getting a rest. Deflected out. The outside official, Bernie Fryer, says last touched by Miami.
And I think it was the accurate call. Not a good idea by Donald Royal, leaving his feet not necessarily ready to take it to the basket, but to make the pass, but he got away with the deflection by Miami.
Atlanta with 15 on the 24. Geiger jumping out on a switch against Hardaway. Hardaway is open. And a loose ball foul is called. It's against Miami. Kevin Willis.
Kevin Willis has some words for Anthony Avent as they got tied up underneath the basket. Not happy with the way that Avent was trying to get to the offensive board.
Third foul on Willis. The Heat over the limit. And here is Anthony Avent in his 3rd season out of Seton Hall. Originally a first-round pick of the Milwaukee Bucks. Decided to play in Italy, then played a year for the Bucks, and last January acquired by Orlando. To take a look at the push-out.
Well, I guess it was more a case of Kevin Willis didn't like the fact that Anthony Avent had inside position.
Yes.
Just decided to get him out of there. We talk so much about the problems the Magic have from the free throw line. They are shooting unbelievably from the field. 63% so far today. They shot 60% on Thursday night in their loss to Boston and 60% in their win against Cleveland on Tuesday night. So you can afford to miss some free throws when you make field goals at that clip.
Rice once again from downtown. He He's 6 of 7 from three-point land. 37 points for Glen Rice. 6-point lead for the Magic. Otto Royal. And here comes Reeves. Owens. Nice move. Billy Owens able to recover after he mishandled that inside pass, and it leads to a Orlando timeout with 1:50 to go in the third. It's the Magic 87 and the Heat 83. A 7-2 run by Miami.
Glen Rice, who has been getting him mostly from the perimeter here this afternoon, able to spot up on that quick transition play for the Miami Heat. But Khalid Reeves continues to do a terrific job for the Miami Heat in open court situations, as Glen Rice has some words for that defender. A little too slow getting out on him, but Khalid Reeves trying to make that transition from being a scoring guard at the University of Arizona to being a playmaking guard, and he has done a terrific job finding that man time and time again open behind the three-point line.
So with 1:50 to go in this third quarter, the Magic leading 87-83, and Glen Rice has had the touch from downtown. It's Brian Shaw of the Orlando Magic who established an NBA record as a member of the Miami Heat back in April of '93, connecting on 10 three-pointers against the Milwaukee Bucks. He hit 3 from downtown in the first quarter. Earlier this season, Joe Dumars tied the record with 10 from three-point land against Minnesota. That accomplishment perhaps should have an asterisk because the three-point line is closer this season, and Glen Rice could be on track. He's hit 6 of 7 from beyond the three-point line.
And many members of the Miami Heat shocked and disappointed that the Heat did not extend an offer to Brian Shaw to stay with his team. They felt he was a valuable player. He was a starting point guard and a valuable man in the locker room as well.
Rice with a season-high 45 against the Los Angeles Clippers. His career-high 46 points. He has 37 with 1.5 to go in this third quarter. Keith Haskins back on the floor along with Kevin Gamble. Reeves handling against Hardaway. Nice move by Reeves. Able to penetrate. Brings the Heat within 2.
And Khalid can get in there. Sometimes the problem is he gets too deep before he makes a decision. Had no problem that time.
6 points for Reeves. Also has 11 assists. Open shot for Brian Shaw. And we were talking about a moment ago. Beautiful tip by Horace Grant. 17 for Grant. And Orlando is up 89-85. They led by as many as 9 earlier this third quarter. What a change of pace move by Reeves.
And Kevin Gamble was just moving away from the play and set an inadvertent moving screen to enable Reeves to get to the basket.
Hardaway was pushed. Hardaway had the step and was pushed by Gamble.
Khalid Reeves, little crossover as he freezes Penny Hardaway, gets in the lane. Horace Grant is there, thought about taking the charge, and then just bailed out on the play. And watched Kevin Gamble getting out of the way on this play. Never saw Reeves, but he sealed off both Brian Shaw and Penny Hardaway to enable Reeves to get to the hole.
Well, Penny will take it and say thank you. He has 25 points, 6 of 7 from the line. Played 40 minutes in Orlando's previous game, a second game back, the loss to the Celtics. 10 points and that career-high 19 assists. But today, an outstanding all-around performance by Hardaway. Magic up by 4. Rice being guarded now by Event. Intended for Geiger. Hardaway leading Royal. the floor.
And that's what good teams do to you when they make a mistake. The Heat had a 2-for-1 situation, and he didn't even get the first shot, and the Orlando Magic capitalized on the error.
Yeah, that was assist number 14 for Hardaway. Final seconds, third quarter. Reeves looking for the angle. Can't find it. Has to force one up. After 3 here in Miami, the Magic 93.
This is Bob Costas in New York. At halftime in Oakland, the Warriors led the Sonics, but now in the closing moments, Seattle has pulled away. Here's Kendall Gill back in their lineup, hitting the jumper in the lane. Gary Payton played the whole game despite a broken ring finger on his left or non-shooting hand. He takes the pass here and lays it in. The Sonics pulling away with just over a minute to go, 109-95. They will now be a half game up on the Suns in the Pacific. That's the battle for the second overall seed in the Western Conference playoffs. That's pending the outcome of Phoenix's game at home tonight against the Lakers, which they will play without the suspended Charles Barkley. Let's go back down to Miami.
All right, Bob, and you're looking at the very versatile Miami Dolphins fullback Keith Byers lending a hand, getting a close-up shot of his wife, Margaret, who did a little shaky, though, Keith. I don't know. His wife, Margaret, with a terrific job singing the national anthem. Well, that Keith can pan, can't he, Matt?
He can, and I always wonder, he always come in third down situations, and
yes.
You knew he was going to get the ball. Nobody could stop him.
Is this a criticism of Don Shula?
I was thinking more in terms of when he was a Philadelphia.
Yes. And the foul on O'Neal as this fourth quarter gets underway. Reeves taking a hard shot, and he'll go to the line.
Reeves playing his college basketball at the University of Arizona for Lute Olson, and teamed so well in the backcourt with Damon Stoudemire. It's kind of hard to figure out who was the point guard there. I'm sure Stoudemire had the ball most of the time. Khalid Reeves averaged 24 points a game his senior year.
That has been the question of concerning Reeves, because he has the body of a point guard, but of course he's carried the reputation of a shooting guard. Shaquille with 36 points, and the Magic with a 95-88 lead. In fact, he has had the reputation of a shoot-first mentality. As a senior, he averaged under 3 assists per game. Rice again. 39 for Glen Rice, his career high back in April of '92, 46 against the Matt Gukas coach Orlando Magic. That was 3 years ago this week. O'Neal. And Shaquille has 38. His season high, as we mentioned earlier, 46. And Shaquille's career high, 53. The Magic 97 and the Heat 90. Early fourth. Reeves to the left hand.
Oh, strong move by Khalid Reeves, and able to ward off Shaquille O'Neal with the right side of his body and use his left hand beautifully. This is that small lineup that Alvin Gentry used in the fourth quarter against Cleveland on Thursday night. He's going to the well one more time.
Ryan Shaw. And rebounded by Reeves. Around Shaw. 3-on-2. The lead for Geiger overthrown. Gamble diving for it, could not save it.
A little bit of an ambitious play on the part of Khalid Reeves. And Matt Geiger can get up in the air, but he can't jump over the backboard. But Khalid Reeves, change of pace, as he's seen Penny Hardaway do that a number of times, but warding off the 7'1", 300-pound Shaquille O'Neal.
Back to the live action. Hardaway missing on a jump hook. Orlando getting back with Reeves putting on a dazzling show of ball handling. But has to wait for his teammates. Gamble fires. Crowd reacting to that quick shot by Kevin Gamble.
Well, these were the shots that were going in the other night. They were coming up with those loose rebounds as a small team, but those shots were falling, and that's a big difference.
Out of 7 on the 24. O'Neal against the double team. Jump ball. Let's see, did the 24-second buzzer, apparently it went off prior to the tie-up.
And the crowd reaction is the fact that Shaquille O'Neal feels he's going to get fouled here as he's sandwiched by Keith Askins and Matt Geiger, and Shaq decides to do a little damage before the foul comes as he just throws Keith Askins.
Without the express written consent of the NBA.
They got a foul.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
Today's Miller Genuine Moment takes us back to this year's All-Star Weekend in Phoenix, where two Miami Heat players were hot. Glen Rice winning the long-distance shootout, defeating the Pacers' Reggie Miller. Rice, the first forward to win the event since Larry Bird did it in 1988. And Rice's teammate, Harold Miner, captured his second slam dunk championship. Miner defeated the defending champion Isaiah Ryder of the Timberwolves in the finals. In recognition of this moment, is Harold Miner. Miller Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Harold sitting out with a sprained left wrist and a dislocated finger.
Well, Harold has had some bright moments. He was getting a starting situation when Billy Owens was hurt and scoring well, but they're still trying to figure out what Harold Miner can do to help this ball club.
What a move by Rice, who has 41 points. 3-point lead for the Magic. Glen Rice in his 6th year out of Michigan, lighting it up here this afternoon. He's hit his uniform number, 41. And a loose ball foul call.
Well, Glen Rice has expanded his game, not just a perimeter shooter, and he has been doing this over the last couple of seasons, working on putting the ball on the floor and doing it very well, and also has become an effective post player when he has the mismatch inside.
The last foul called on Reeves. There's Billy Owens replacing Khalid Reeves. 11 points and 12 assists, which equals a career high. 12 assists for Reeves. And a hand check called on Geiger as O'Neal was setting up.
And referee Jack Neese on the baseline demonstrating to Matt Geiger and everybody else exactly what Matt did. He extended that arm, and you can't do it. You have to have a bent elbow when you're defending in the post. A big advantage for a strong post player.
Battle between Geiger and O'Neal. And coming with a double team. Anderson. Air ball. Grant with the save. Anderson. Rebound Anderson. Stripped. Knocked out of bounds. Last touch by the Magic.
And the scrum inside. You got to give the Miami Heat a lot of credit. They have a small team out there right now, and they are battling hard for loose balls and battling hard on the backboard.
Billy Owens will do the ball handling now with Reeves sitting down. Here's Rice. Nice delivery. Owens could put it down. Geiger with the tip. And Miami within one.
That's a beautiful pass by Glen Rice, and there are some of the things you can do when you're having the hot hand he is. The defense will look at you. You can find other people.
Ryan Shaw had it knocked away.
Well, Glen Rice on the beautiful bounce pass inside. Billy Owens, there's too much spin on it, but Matt Geiger doesn't take anything for granted. Followed that play all the way. A wise move.
Anderson lost a shoe. I tell you, that defense of Glen Rice is so tough. Nick Anderson putting the shoe back on as play continues. Shot clock at 1. It's a 24-second violation.
Everybody kind of froze, including us, and I think Glen Rice really didn't know what to do. He didn't know whether to stay with Nick Anderson, who is a three-point rat, as he fakes or tries to fake Glen Rice out of his shoes. His slips out, but Glen Rice certainly had an opportunity to go double team, but he didn't do it.
God, I hate when that happens. Owens puts the move on and draws the foul. The Magic 97 and the Heat 96. 7.5 to go in the fourth quarter. Foul called on Shaw. That is his third.
Make sure.
Alvin Gentry took over for Kevin Loggery back in mid-February. Campbell recovered by Askins. Rice. That's 2-point range. That's a rare miss for Glen Rice. He is now 15 of 22. Anderson. Well, Nick Anderson very much back into it. He has 10 points. 99-96. Orlando. Rice on a quick release. Oh, he is deadly. 43 for Rice. Looking to surpass together with Anderson, and Askins called for the foul.
Well, it started out as a post-up. He drifts on the play, but that is
185 Toyota 4Runner. It's where civilization is headed. By new Nestle Bunch of Crunch. Puffable bunches of crunchy chocolate you'll love to munch. And by Ice Brewed Ice House. Ice brewed, so there's never any watered-down taste.
Well, the excitement of the NBA playoffs coming to NBC Sports in just 2 weeks. There was certainly playoff excitement last year when Tony Kukoc hit that buzzer-beating shot to shock the Knicks. And 2 years ago when Alonzo Mourning and the Hornets celebrated their last-second victory, which eliminated the Boston Celtics. And remember back in 1984 when Larry Bird led his Celtics to a hard-fought victory over the favorite Los Angeles Lakers. See what great new memories are coming when the battle for the World Championship will begin April the 29th right here on NBC.
Well, and a little bit of a surprise visit by Nick Anderson, stating that he was ready to play. Brian Hill put him right into the starting lineup, and Nick has done very well. Not really a stamina problem. He's coming back from a mild concussion. He told me before the game, when he puts his head back, he gets a little bit of a funny feeling, and he has an occasional headache. But I'm a little surprised Mark Dennis Scott only playing 8 minutes in the first half, not at all in the second half right now. But Penny Hardaway, Nick Anderson, Anthony Bowie is getting the call right now instead of Dennis.
And we did check with the bench. Nothing wrong physically with Dennis Scott, just a coach's decision. Dennis, the other night, 1 of 5 from the field in his 21 minutes of play. A steal by Anderson. Anderson stripped by Gamble. What a play by Gamble. Reaching in to knock it away, and it will be Miami ball. Last touch by the Magic.
Well, Glen Rice got a little careless there. Nick Anderson taking advantage of knocking loose. Nick felt he got hit across the arm, and he did by Kevin Gamble, but the official's angle felt it went off the leg of Nick Anderson. It did, but Gamble got a piece.
Prior to that last timeout, there was a foul called, and a correction was on Glen Rice, not Keith Askins. So Rice is playing with 4. Willis banging with O'Neal and goes to the jump hook.
Double-team situation. Good defense by Shaquille O'Neal, who forced Kevin Willis a step or 2 out of his range for that jump hook.
6 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter in what has been a high-energy game. The Magic leading 101 to 98. Anderson for 3, way off. And it will be Miami ball. Anderson hearing it from the crowd. Has 4 timeouts remaining, 4 full on a 20. The Heat with 2 and a 20. Reeves is back on the floor. Little Reeves, who has had an outstanding game, fires for 3. And he has tied it at 101.
Shaquille O'Neal, once again, a good defensive play initially to string that out and keep Khalid Reeves from penetrating, which he does so well. But the man guarding Khalid didn't recover it quickly enough.
14 points and a career-high 13 assists for the product of the Bronx, Khalid Reeves. Game tied 101. Hardaway stepped out of bounds.
Well, Penny trying to force the action against the rookie Reeves, and Khalid held his ground and forced the turnover.
Just under 5 minutes remaining in the fourth. Rice, yes. 45 points for Glen Rice. That is 1 under a franchise high for Miami that ties his season high.
Shaquille O'Neal getting down low, shuffling his feet to seal off that drive. But Penny Hardaway sagged back on the play, thinking he had Reeves under control, trying to take away the penetration, and Reeves put it right in his eye. And speaking of putting jumpers in the eye, Nick Anderson way too slow, getting out and not challenging that shot.
And game of the week doubleheader. Most of you will see David Robinson leading the San Antonio Spurs against the Denver Nuggets. Some of you will see Charlotte hosting Atlanta. And then game 2 of our doubleheader, Michael Jordan and the Bulls take on the Knicks in prime time. 3 weeks ago, Air Jordan with 55 against the Knicks. So Michael will headline it tomorrow. The NBA on NBC doubleheader starting 3 o'clock Eastern. Check your local listings for the games in your area. Bring on According to one of the fans here in Miami, the Heat will take on the Bulls here in Miami on Monday night. Horace Grant, it counts, and the foul. The foul is away from the ball. O'Neal and Hardaway hitting the floor. And both apparently are all right.
But the way that Shaq is holding the back of his head right now is Horace Grant is going to get this wide open jump shot, but Shaq and Kevin Willis getting all tied up, and Willis giving him an arm whip to throw Shaq to the floor. And as Shaquille started to go down, he got tangled up with Penny Hardaway, and then just holding his head, whether or not he got a knee there or not, I don't know. Just trying to make sure all the pieces were in the right place.
Willis called for the foul. Shaquille is 6 of 11 from the line. And in the final 5 minutes of the game, Shaquille O'Neal is only a 60% free throw shooter, but that's better than he is earlier in the game.
Well, that last one was so flat, mainly, again, because he does not bend the knees at the right time.
Rice, yes! 47 points. That is a franchise record. Glen Rice, who 3 years ago scored 46 against Orlando, now with 47, and the Heat leading by 2 with 4 minutes to go in this fourth. That won't count. Waved off. The three-pointer by Anderson waved off because of a foul against the Magic. Foul on O'Neal, his fourth.
Well, when you have a man as hot as Glen Rice is, there just cannot be any space in between you and that man. You have to guard him without the ball, deny him at all costs.
I don't know. Is Michaels 55 in sight? Rice. Yes. 4-point lead.
And once again, just way too much space as actually he shook off Nick Anderson, who had lost his shoe earlier. That time he lost his footing to get clear. Horace Grant came, but way too late.
3:43 to go in the fourth. You are watching the NBA on NBC.
This is the NBA on NBC.
Keep an eye on Glen Rice, who is moving beautifully without the ball, coming off screens. And Nick Anderson, instead of trailing on the play, going to try to go on the top side. There goes Glen Rice. And Nick Anderson should be following on that play. And on the little pump fake, able to shake Nick Anderson to get that open look. Take one more look at it, but Nick Anderson making the mistake of not following Glen Rice.
Glen Rice in his 6th NBA season out of the University of Michigan, a member of Michigan's 1989 NCAA champions, comes in averaging just under 22 per game. He has sparked Miami here in the fourth quarter. They've outscored Orlando 20-10. They lead 107-103, and Rice with 49. O'Neal is fouled. Haskins coming over to help out. Glen Rice making his move on the likes of Dana Barros, Cedric Sabanos, Billy Burton, Michael Jordan. Jordan with the 55 a couple of weeks ago against the New York Knicks. Well, Shaquille O'Neal is now 6 of 13 at the line. He was 2 of 11 in Orlando's previous game.
And the strategy is very evident right now. Keith Haskins will be the designated double teamer, but anytime Shaq near the act of shooting, they'll hack him.
The outside official, Ted Bernhardt, with the call against Miami. Last touch by the Heat. 3:29 remaining in the fourth quarter. Hardaway. The tip by Grant. It has been an outstanding game for Horace Grant. 21 points in all. He's 10 of 13 from the field. He has 9 rebounds. 2-point
defensive sequence by the Magic that time. Good pressure on the ball and a nice switch with Bowie and Anderson.
Well, Raymond Floyd with the big round today. And as you heard Dick Enberg, he is the leader after 3 going into tomorrow's 4th and final round. Floyd at 9 under par. The Heat and the Magic tied at 107, 2:41 remaining in this 4th quarter. Let's check in with Ahmad Rashad over at the Miami bench. Ahmad?
All right, Mark, during that last time out, Alvin was telling his team that they were taking the shots too quickly. They want him to run the offense. They wanted to set up some isolates for Glen Rice. First of all, if nothing's there, run through the offense. And on the other end, try to keep Orlando off the boards. Mark?
All right, Ahmad, here is Rice for 3. 7 of 8 from downtown. 52 points for Rice. 3 away from Michael Jordan's season high. And it's the Heat by 3. Anthony Bowie. That's a 2-pointer. It brings Orlando within 1 as we come up on 2 minutes remaining. In this 4th quarter, it has been a magnificent performance by Glen Rice, now guarded by Anthony Bowie. Shot clock at 10. Reed followed up and fouled. Anderson went for the steal.
Everybody in a switch mode right now. With Glen Rice is involved, you're going to see Shaquille O'Neal even step out and challenge this shot as Horace Grant winds up with him. There's Shaq challenging it, but the way Glen Rice is firing, I don't know if anybody can stop him right now.
4th team foul on Orlando. Reeves for 3. The Heat 113 and the Magic 109. 17 points, 13 assists for Reed. Hardaway trying the 3. Handled by Reed. A minute 25 remaining in the 4th. Miami by 4. Rice with 52 points. Rice guarded by Anderson. Now picked up by Hardaway. And he's fouled on a reach-in by Hardaway. That will put Orlando over the limit, so Rice will go to the line where he is 5 out of 6.
Well, Penny Hardaway hasn't made many mistakes in this one, but that last 3 that he took probably should have been a little more patient. Here, Hardaway and with the switch and with Nick Anderson and very unaggressive, leaving Khalid Reeves wide open for that shot. And the Magic did not take advantage of the foul opportunities that they had. They had a chance to be aggressive with their defense.
Well, Glen Rice has played 44 minutes. He has now scored 53 points. He is 20 of 27 from the field, 7 of 8 from downtown, and Glen Rice is 1 point away from the single game. Well, Glen Rice with 17 of his 54 here in the 4th quarter on 7 of 8 from the field. And the Orlando Magic continue to have their difficulties on the road where they've lost 4 straight, 13 of the last 17. They're down by 6. Anderson trying the 3 and hits, gets the roll. It's a 3-point Miami lead. We are down to a minute 1 remaining in the 4th quarter. Both teams are over the limit. Foul called on Horace Grant.
Well, a well-executed play by the Orlando Magic to get Nick Anderson a perfect look. He got a very friendly roll as the thing jumped straight up in the air and fell down for him. But Khalid Reeves, who has struggled from the free throw line throughout this year, no problem with that one.
He's 4 of 5 at the line here this afternoon. Some big numbers being put up by a number of people. 54 points for Rice. Career high 14 assists for Reeves. Penny Hardaway 18 assists coming off the 19 assists the other night. 38 points for Shaquille Hardaway. And the Heat is up by 3. 50 seconds remaining in the 4th quarter. Foul is given up right there. They'll put Askins at the line.
Well, Khalid Reeves has double-team help coming, but nothing he can do with a quick spin by Hardaway, who spun out of that double-team opportunity for the Heat and just threw it down in there. As this is all the Orlando Magic want to do right now, is just get a quick score, any kind they can, and then try to make the Heat to make free throws, which they have had trouble with in 4th quarter. And oddly enough, the guy who has had the most trouble Glen Rice, who shoots 86% from the line, has been a very shaky foul shooter in the clutch.
Haskins is an 80% free throw shooter. 6 points to give Miami a 119-114 lead. And again, the crowd responds to the play of the Heat with 48 seconds to go in the fourth. 5-point lead on the Orlando Magic. Miami trying to stay alive in the battle for that final playoff spot. The 3 behind Boston. The Celtics playing Detroit tonight, and Hartford, Connecticut. Milwaukee, a game in front of Miami, is at Washington this evening. We mentioned a moment ago some enormous numbers being put up here today. Glen Rice with 54. That's a new franchise record for the Heat, and he's 1 point away from tying Michael Jordan's high for the season. Anthony Hardaway, 28 points, 18 assists, a spectacular all-around game. Shaquille O'Neal, who has been quiet here in the fourth quarter, with 38 points. The timeout rundown, the Magic with a 20 remaining, the Heat with 1 full timeout and a 20.
Well, every time Shaq touches the ball, he's going to get double teamed or fouled, so the Magic are looking for other ways to attack.
Hardaway, played by Reeves. Orlando is 4-15 now from downtown. Anderson guarded by Haskins for 3. Rebound Grant, but a loose ball foul has been called. A push out against Orlando. That's number 5 on Horace Grant.
And I believe it's going to be Glen Rice who had that inside position. It is, as he gets pushed, and a little bit of a flop and an act as Horace Grant knew he was had on that little shove.
So Rice, who is 7 for 8 from the line with 2 shots, looking to hit his 55th point. I can just see the New York Knicks watching this game and saying, oh, this is just what Michael needs. A little motivation to now surpass Glen Rice tomorrow. 56 points for Glen Rice, and that is an NBA season high. 7-point Miami lead. Half minute to go in the fourth. Grant for 3. And a foul is called. Haskins was run into.
Well, this is the kind of tempo that favors the Orlando Magic, and this is not what Alvin Gentry wanted in terms of score. But there's no way he could have known that his Glen Rice was going to pop for 56. They did get their fast breaks. The small lineup helped Miami at the start of the fourth quarter, but the Heat have had problems all season long in beating good teams. Well, this is a good team they're beating today.
Haskins hit 2 of 2 just a moment ago. Is a good free throw shooter. Miami 122 at Orlando, 114, 25 and 8/10 seconds remaining. And the Orlando Magic on the way to 5 straight losses on the road. 14 of the last 18 and the last 4 against sub-500 teams. Grant pumps it back out. We're down to 15. Anderson for 3. Nick Anderson with 20 points in his return to the lineup. 5-point lead for Miami. 14 seconds to go, and Rice takes a timeout. So Glen Rice calling for time. Miami does have 1 timeout remaining.
Well, in that situation, after a made field goal or a made free throw, you're allowed to run the baseline. Glen Rice basically got caught right underneath the backboard. That's not where you want to be. And really good defense by the Magic kept anybody from popping to the open area.
Well, Orlando led by 6 after 3 quarters. They led by as many as 9 in the second half. What a turnaround by Miami. Tomorrow, starting at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on NBC. It'll be an NBA Game of the Week doubleheader. Most of you will see David Robinson and the San Antonio Spurs going up against Dikembe Mutombo and the Denver Nuggets, who are battling for final playoff spot out on the West. Some of you will see Charlotte hosting Atlanta. And then in game 2 of the Twin Bill, it will be Patrick Ewing and the Knicks and Michael Jordan and the Bulls going in prime time. That'll be 3 p.m. Eastern for the start of the doubleheader. We'll be on hand at the new United Center, where Michael Jordan has not been able to find the range to this point with the jump shot.
And Michael himself is saying that it's more mental than anything. It's just he never felt comfortable with the new building. He was so much in love, as many players who played with the Bulls and played in this league, with Chicago Stadium. It was just a friendly basketball court, friendly backboards, friendly background, and one of the great old stadiums. He hated to see it go, but Michael is going to have to get used to this new building.
And the Knicks saying to themselves, a loss here by Orlando, and hey, anything can happen. 2.5 game lead, that's it for the Magic following this defeat at the hands of Miami.
And it is in the back of the minds of the Orlando Magic. They do have 2 games coming up with Washington on Monday and Wednesday. Monday at home.
And one on the road. 22nd timeout taken by Miami, so they have used their final timeout. Yes, Orlando home for Washington on Monday. In Landover on Wednesday. Next Friday, home for Indiana. And the next Sunday afternoon, it will be the Knicks and the Orlando Magic at Madison Square Garden here on NBC. The last 2 games, Orlando shot 60% from the floor. And today, Matt, they're at 56%. We talked about the loss in Boston. The fact that their free throw shooting was terrible, and they were beaten off the board, particularly off the offensive board. So here they are shooting 56% game or timeout taken. Let's see. Well, that was the delay of game warning, as Brian Hill wanted to check it out. And now Owens with the inbound. Got it to Reeves, and very fortunate, was able to whip it to him through a crowd as the Magic giving the foul. That's number 5 on O'Neal. And Reeves to the line. He's 5 of 6 at the free throw line.
Well, the Magic have really turned it on defensively. May be too late right now, as they've been very tough on situations, on inbound plays, but that will be the last opportunity for any kind of a stoppage in play as Brian Hill takes the final 22nd timeout.
So both clubs have utilized all their timeouts. 12 and 3/10 seconds remaining. When we resume, Reeves will have another free throw. Reeves now 5 of 7 at the foul line. The Orlando Magic coming into today 18 and 20 on the road. You see the home record, 37-2. That's the best home record in the league. The 2 losses to Seattle and Utah. The NBA record for most home wins held by the Boston Celtics back in 85-86. They went 40-1. Orlando at one point was on track for that, but then lost to Seattle. And then Utah. It's a 6-point lead for Miami. Hardaway for 3. We're down to 5 seconds. Owens holding the ball, just looking to work the clock down, and that will do it. The Miami Heat defeating the Orlando Magic 123-117. Thanks to the storybook performance by Glen Rice. A franchise record 56 points. That's the high for the season in the NBA. Let's go to Glen Rice with Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, thanks, Marv. Right from the opening tip-off, Glenn, you had that stroke going.
It was. I was trying to come out, get in rhythm early, and my team was really working hard to get me open, and I owe it to them tonight.
With Orlando coming in here, a lot of talk about them not being able to win on the road. They figured they're going to come in here and win this one here. It seemed to me like you guys had a matter of professional pride, that you weren't going to let that happen.
We did. We felt that they were going to try and come in here and embarrass us somewhat, and we picked it up on all phases of our game, and we're not going to be denied today.
All right, congratulations on a great performance, Glenn. All right, back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad, so the race for top spot of the East Conference still up for grabs, and for top record in the NBA. Glen Rice leading the way. Again, the final score, Miami 123, Orlando 117. Now, let's join Bob Costas in our New York studio.
Marv, thanks a lot. I'm here with Julius Erving and Peter Vesey. Now, ordinarily, the story would be from Orlando's perspective. Another defeat for them. They've lost 14 of their last 18 on the road. They've lost 4 of 5 overall, and they're stumbling toward the playoffs. But everything has to take a back seat to Glen Rice's individual performance with 56, one more than Jordan had a couple of weeks ago against the Knicks. Top performance in the league this year.
Well, I'll tell you, Bob, it was a very special performance, one in which he shot 20 out of 27 field goals. It makes it a little bit superior to Michael's 55-point effort in which he shot 21 out of 37.
How about the threes? 7 of 8.
And only 7-8 from the free throw line. No offense to Glen Rice, so to speak, but if this was the playgrounds, I think guys would have been knocking him down a little bit. If this was baseball, they'd be throwing brushback pitches at him. You know, I think that Orlando really has to worry about its defense. They just don't have the intensity that they need going into the playoffs. There's only a week to get that back.
You know, Orlando is only 2 now ahead of the Knicks in the loss column, and they do play on the last day of the regular season. Orlando probably is going to have that best overall record in the East, but if you just wanted to speculate, they played some close head-to-head games with the Knicks this year and won most of them. Change the outcome of one of those, and this could be very interesting because it would be a 2-game swing.
That's right. Orlando's feeling the pressure. There's no doubt from New York, and feeling the pressure of the playoffs, feeling the pressure of not being able to make free throws down the stretch. They've got to deal with an awful lot at this time.
And it has to be a big boost for the confidence of the New York Knicks. You know, they know that they're the veteran team. They're the one that's been there before. They went to the finals last year. So Orlando does have their work cut out for us. It'll be interesting to see how this next week develops.
Shaq, by the way, had 38, but held in check in the 4th quarter. Hardaway back after the inflamed esophagus caused him to miss 4 games, 28 points and 18 assists. Not enough for the Magic. They lose at 123-117. A final in on the only other game today. It was played in Oakland. Golden State led over the Sonics at halftime by 6, but ultimately Seattle wins 115-99. That was Clifford Rozier following the missed shot by Tim Legler of the Warriors. And here's Dwayne Morton missing inside and Danielle Marshall with the rebound. And as I said, the Warriors had a good first half. But in the second half, Gary Payton, playing with a broken finger on his left hand, his non-shooting hand, takes it up the middle for the layup. Seattle moved to within 4. Payton finished with 24 points, 18 in the second half. Here the alley-oop to Sean Kemp, who hammers it down. Seattle outscored Golden State by 11 in the 3rd quarter, then blew it out in the 4th. Detlef Schrempf down the lane with that one, ending with a dunk, part of a 19-5 run. Seattle goes on to win it. Whoa, there we are. There's the updated standings in the Pacific Division after a brief dip to black. Seattle with a half-game lead now over Phoenix in the Pacific. That would be for the 2nd overall playoff spot in the Western Conference. Phoenix plays at home tonight against the Lakers, but without Charles Barkley, who has been suspended for 1 game after a flagrant foul last night. We've got an Easter Sunday doubleheader tomorrow starting at 3 Eastern time. Robinson versus Mutombo, the Spurs and the Nuggets. Some of you will see Atlanta and Charlotte game 2 at 5:30 Eastern. The Knicks and the Bulls, and of course the last time they got together, Jordan went for 55. And here's just a small sample of what he did. John Starks burned time and again. The turnaround there, the pull-up here to the baseline, and the jumper over Starks yet again. And no matter who they put on him, they couldn't stop him. Here he spins, twists, and hits again over the hapless Starks. And John Starks is not a bad defensive player, but nobody could stop him that night. And as you recall, on the last possession when they doubled him, he found Bill Wennington with the great pass for the game-winning dunk.
Well, I guarantee you tomorrow night they will be more than doubling him on the last play. They're going to be guarding him with 2 or 3 people. You can't guard Michael Jordan. Lenny Wilkins remembers that. You can't guard him with 1 guy. You've got to have 2 guys on him.
Yeah, this was the beginning of the Michael Jordan comeback tour when he played the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. But with the Knicks going into Chicago, they're going in with a 5-game winning streak. You know, they're playing very, very good basketball right now, finding ways to win. They have as much momentum as any team going into the playoffs.
Jordan's averaging just a fraction over 27 points in the games he's played since his return, but only shooting around 40% and shooting less than 40% at home. He does not like the United Center, at least not yet. He said only half jokingly about a week ago, I'd like to blow the place up. I presume he would move his statue out of the way before detonating the dynamite, but...
Yeah, you know, but Michael's able to pick up on other things. You know, he's going to the boards more now that he's not shooting that well, and I think that he's smart enough to understand that if the shot's not there, he'll find other ways to beat teams.
You know, my sense, Doc, is that Jordan's best moments, Glen Rice today notwithstanding, Jordan's best moments, even now, are the best moments anybody in the league has. But he can't do it as consistently yet as he used to.
Well, you know, that might be true, but he has shown that he can come back and he can play back-to-back games. But after you take 18 months off and you're out there swinging the bat, your legs just aren't going to be the same. So that's probably the reason why his shooting percentage is low, and then the anxiety that's associated with coming back, getting into something that you've been away from for so long.
No, I don't know what to say about Michael other than the fact that I'm glad I'm not guarding him, Doc.
Hey, I'll bow out of that one, too.
You know, it sets
you want
up
a piece of him?
A little piece.
Well, we got about a half minute here. What's your best memory, or worst, of going head-to-head with him?
Well, I think they were, you know, my last 2 years were Michael's first 2 years in basketball, as well as Charles Barkley's, who was my teammate. And when he first came into Philadelphia, you know, Philadelphia having had the success and the tradition that it had, Michael wanted to make a statement, and he came down on our court, came down on our team, and dunked on the whole team. And being the type of veteran that I was, I insisted on getting the inbounds pass from Maurice Cheeks and went straight down the middle and dunked on their team. And it was just sort of a signature thing, maybe a passing of the torch, but that first year I wasn't exactly ready to step aside and let him have it all.
Well, we're ready to step aside because the clock says we have to. We'll see you tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, final round of the PGA Seniors Championship. Then our NBA coverage at 3 o'clock Eastern, the Spurs and Nuggets or the Hawks and Hornets. That's followed by the Knicks and Bulls at 5:30. So long for now.
Where America turns for the best in sports television. NBC Sports.